stiff arms of crack out of Drake Kirkpatrick right there. Fighting through contact, fighting through offensive line, being a double team, multiple moves stacked into one, just a play of pure domination. This is actual film, this is actual football talk. It's a football show, we're supposed to talk football, not storylines. And you are listening to another edition, the 23rd edition of Blewett's Blitz. I said at the last show that we will be doing a top 25 show. And I'm joined, as always, by my good friend, former podcast host of AFC East Bros and disappeared off the face of the earth, Kyle Smith. What is up, Kyle?
Not disappeared off the face of the earth, disappeared out of the football sphere, but doing pretty good, Joe. And I'm sad to hear that you're not doing so great this week.
No, it's not anything like that for people who are actually concerned. It's just a lack of sleep. And like I said, I think some people who come down to the shore during the summer should invest in pools. I would like you a lot more. That's all I'm going to say, because directing traffic for 4 hours in boots and a vest in 90-degree weather doesn't get anybody in a good mood. So, but other than that, I'm fine. Like I said, top 25. If you want to pause the show and you forgot and you want to do your own top 25 list, if you're that bored, or if you just want to do it. Because we're going to do our top 25 list. We're going to do a little bit of like a wrap up of the draft with Kyle, really quick hitter type stuff about the rest of the offseason since he's been on. The things that he has not covered really, which you were on to do. I forget exactly what it was, Kyle, but we did something. I think it was a mailbag. Next show.
Yeah, it's true.
Next show is going to be Desir. I have about 15 more plays to put up of this year. It's about a 60-play review. We're only going to get about 20 of those plays on Twitter. Subscribe at the website Jets X Factor for the entire thing. It's an interesting review. And then I'm going to be doing either it looks like Fant or Peanut, Patrick Anuwasa or whatever.
Please do Fant. Please do Fant first.
Let's get a live.
I did vote on it.
Oh, you did vote on it. So you think you have pull? Let's see.
My vote. I'm just saying my vote should count more than one.
As of right now, it is 38% Fant, and next highest is 32 at Peanut. So he's probably going to win. Yeah, Fant needs to be done. That's an interesting one. There are some reviews that, like I said, I don't hold back. This year, you're probably going to be a little bit disappointed, and Fant, you might be a little bit surprised in terms of other people who watch the show. So I'll definitely check that out. Joe RB31 on Twitter. Follow me there for all the reviews and stuff like that. Kyle, are you still at AFC East Bros or like
no
change it?
Shoot.
I don't see you on Twitter anymore, to be completely honest.
I'm there, but I don't get sucked into stupid conversations and stuff with
You're like Batman. You're like lurking in the shadows type deal.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is I only follow smart people like yourself, so I don't see a lot of the garbage out there. And I started muting a lot of people too. Like sometimes when I see like dumb people that continue to comment on or reply to your tweets, I'll just, even if I'm not following that person, I'll mute them, so then I'll never see their garbage.
So you don't
again.
waste their time in reading that sentence.
Yeah, because listen, Twitter could be an absolute wasteland. There's a lot of smart people who put out a lot of great stuff on there, but if you don't watch your time properly and you start interacting with a bunch of dummies and midwits, you will waste your time. So I'm there. I just don't get sucked in all the conversations for two main reasons. One is time, but also the second thing is I don't know that I have anything extremely unique and worthwhile to bring to the discussion, and I don't want to be one of those loudmouths that acts like I really know what I'm talking about when I really don't have a super duper strong knowledge base of certain things. Like for you, like I'm not going to comment in detail on a Fant signing because I haven't watched much of Fant yet. I'm probably only going to watch the Fant film that you put out. That'll be it for my Fant watching, other than when he puts on a Jets uniform. Right. So for me to, start criticizing that signing or being overly optimistic about it, it doesn't make much sense unless I really dive into the film myself.
Oh, so you're not like 99% of Twitter where they hear one opinion about how bad he is and then run with it and everybody talks about how bad of a signing it is. Yeah.
Correct. But I was that way at one point though. So
we were all guilty of it when we first started. And like I said, I'm not saying Fant is Lane Johnson, but I'm a little bit higher on him than some other, just based on his inexperience and how he progressed through 2018 through 2019. So it definitely was a positive step. Now it was all at left tackle. I saw that progression. So I'm hoping it could transfer over to the right side, but we'll see with that. Other than that, we have still to do, like I said, Desir, Fant, Van Roten, Peanut. I'm going to try to do Wilson, Gore, and Flacco. I might not, depending on when preseason comes, if it comes. And then I have Guidry, Jackson, Cager, Campbell. I'm going to try to get Cager out, but I don't want to waste my time doing a guy like, let's be honest, Guidry or Campbell are probably not going to make the team, and then people not see Peanut.
I got an idea for you. I know that you specify more on players than scheme. I know that's more of your thing, but why, instead of wasting your time with some of those guys, maybe you can kind of do more of a dissection on Gase's offense first year with the Jets. I know you did Gase's offense in Miami.
That sounds like a very big project.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It sounds like it's much harder, but I would find that more interesting than watching, some guy who might not make the team.
Yeah, I get that.
And I think a lot of fans would too.
It all depends on timing. Depending, because like right now it's July, and the first preseason game is like August,
and they're working like a dog.
Preseason, like I gotta see. It's not like this is my full-time job, but
yeah, just
thanks
idea.
for no, it's okay. Put the pressure on me, Kyle. It's okay. It's all right.
Hey, people who are listening, let Joe know how you feel. Would you rather him do Quincy Wilson and some of these other, bottom of the barrel people, or would you rather him, do something with Gase's offense?
Yeah.
I'm not saying how long it has to be.
So my thing is, there's no in between. It's either it's gonna be long. Like I can't just go in and watch.
You're a very black and white person, all or nothing.
I can't do 4 games and then ignore. Okay, this is what I saw, but what about the other 12 games?
It wouldn't make sense.
The games with Falk and all those guys, I'm not watching. I'll say that right now. I'm not watching. But other than that, Jets X Factor store, Blewett Blitz on the podcast app. Like I said, after I think we need another 19 reviews on there. And then you'll get a free shirt. You'll be entered to win a free shirt and a free year subscription. We got 1 5-star since I was last on, so I appreciate that. And I also got a
Blewett Split shirt. I don't have one.
You already left the podcast review. Maybe we'll send you one, Kyle. So other than that, I did see the email. Somebody emailed me, Michael. I'm not gonna say your last name, but Michael, I appreciate the email and what you said. I'll respond back with time. Like I said, I've been super busy. But I appreciate all the kind of words. Other than that, that's about it. We're going to basically do a quick recap of the offseason. We'll go right to the draft, Kyle. Other than that, there's really not much to talk about. We'll touch on a topic or two or anything on the top of your mind we could talk about. Overall, with the draft, we'll go through pick by pick. Like I said, we'll do like lightning rounds. I've already spent a ton of time on all these guys. What were your thoughts on Joe Douglas's first draft as a GM of the Jets?
Well, I think it was the best draft in many, many years. Obviously, it's, very tough to judge, and it's always easier to compare things in hindsight because you know how those players turned out from previous draft classes. But just at the time that I felt at the draft or right after the draft, I feel much more better about this one than – shoot, I can't even remember the last draft class that I felt as good about.
The Is 12?
2012? 2012 was Quentin Copels in the first round.
No, I'm saying the Isaac 12. Wasn't that 15?
Oh, yeah, 14 or something like that. Oh, that was terrible.
Yeah.
Although I didn't think it would be that bad that it ended up being. Yeah, but the best in a while, though. So I was pretty happy with it. We were all hoping for or most of us were hoping for an offensive lineman, and we did end up getting one. Probably not our first choice, but I think you were totally right about Andrew Thomas and how he would have probably been the worst for the Jets there. Yeah. And I totally agree with you about his footwork and how he slides and stuff. And yeah, I get it that Pro Football Focus had him with the numbers and stuff, but I think that and I know he's a good run blocker and stuff too, and he'll probably be a pretty good pro, but Becton's upside is a lot better. And I do think that Becton is better in pass pro, despite whatever numbers might say or how inexperienced Becton might be in that regard. I definitely wanted him over Thomas in that spot. So I was ecstatic when the Giants took Thomas at 4. And I was really happy when I thought we were going to get Wills, man. Those damn
Oh
Browns.
man,
I thought we were going to get him.
I was so excited. I've been multiple years in a row where we got the guy we really wanted. I love Wills, but like I said, with Becton getting the film I did, I was much more encouraged with his pass sets than I thought I would be. And his upside, like I said, if he reaches his ceiling, he's going to be an all pro. Like that's how physically dominant he is. And like you said, with Thomas, listen, all these freaking numbers. Oh, your pass win rate might be high, but listen, if I'm seeing you laboring to get back in your pass set, your vertical set versus LSU or whoever you're playing, I don't know how you're going to fare in the NFL. Like he was struggling to get back. He might have got there, but he was struggling. And I don't know how that improves at the NFL level. Like it's footwork obviously can be improved, but you need that natural foot speed. That's not something you can really teach. Like you could teach little things to maybe load up on your your load foot a little bit more and create more burst and stuff like that. But he's not the athlete that any one of these other guys were. So I didn't really like him in our scheme.
Yeah, I mean, everyone likes to say that Becton is the rawest. Just look at the way that they drop back in their sets, and you tell me who looks cleaner and smoother.
Oh,
even though he's been doing it a lot less. So you tell me he already looks better in pass sets.
Mm-hmm.
And because he did it much less, you know that he has more room for improvement already than someone like Thomas. And then one thing that Thomas is really, praised for is his ability in the run game. Well, Becton's already, very good in the run game as well. So
for a guy who moves better than Thomas, and he weighs 30 more pounds than Thomas. So, but let's go through pick by pick. Anything else about Becton that you?
No, we could say Becton. We could say Becton talk for when we go into the top 25. If he is in the top 25.
Oh, he's gonna be in your top 25.
I didn't say. I said if, because I don't know if he's in yours. Anyway,
next pick.
I'll say this. I'll criticize Douglas a little bit for trading back from 48. And I'll say it because
if nobody was there,
you take Mims there. I would have taken him there. And everyone wants to praise him because the genius traded back and still that shouldn't have happened. Dude, that guy, what's the kid's name from Clemson? T. Higgins? Yo, I hated that guy.
I don't like him either. And even Pittman, I don't like Pittman nearly as much as Mims either.
I didn't watch as much of Pittman, but I heard nice things about Pittman. But I didn't. Anyway, damn. So Mims shouldn't have been there, but he was there at 48. And he certainly should have been there at 59 or whatever when we took him. So a lot of people are praising Douglas for, working the board and stuff. Truthfully, someone should have taken him there. So for me, I would actually criticize Douglas a little bit for trading back. And
hey, that's a nuanced take. Not a lot of people are going to say that because they can Monday morning quarterback it. But with Mims there versus the other guys, like, listen, if they traded back and they got Van Jefferson instead of Mims because they wanted to trade back 11 spots and pick up an extra fourth, wherever the hell it was, I forget off the top of my head, I would have been pissed too. And I think you saw the show, obviously, doing Mims, and I was showing my text like, oh my God, Mims is there. I thought he was going to be the first pick day one or day two, I mean. And then for him to fall, that, obviously that's one of the best value picks of the draft. But
what's interesting about Mims is like a lot of people are saying that draft Twitter is immensely higher on him than teams were, and I guess that kind of makes sense. And it kind of reminds me of Patrick Mahomes a little bit, because a lot of draft Twitter was super high on Mahomes, myself included. We should have taken him at 6. I'll still say that. I know Jawoll Adams is great and everything, but
we'll see about that.
I remember calling you one night when you were, you seem to forget this, and I was saying that Mahomes was going to be a star, and you're like, yeah. Okay,
was I inebriated?
Yes, you were.
Okay, you could say it. I drink. I don't care. I was drunk. You called me, whatever.
Anyway,
when you were,
but yeah, I think that's one of those things where draft Twitter is much higher on a prospect than teams were, and Mahomes sliding to 10, I guess, shows that a quarterback sliding to 10 who had this immense talent. I think it's going to be like a similar case where Mims ends up being as good as Twitter's saying, and a lot of teams were wrong, and a lot of teams are going to end up regretting passing on him.
Yeah, it's I don't know necessarily what draft, I know what you're saying, draft Twitter. I don't know I get that teams have professional training, whatever. I don't know what the difference is. Whatever. Regardless, what are your quickly about Mims, the film, what do you think, in terms of the player, what are your thoughts on the actual player?
I mean, he's an extremely talented player. I think he shows a lot of nuance in his route running. I love how he separates at the top of routes and the subtlety in which he uses to create separation. Like he never does these blatant push-offs, but he does just enough to extend his long arms really late and then flash late hands to catch the ball.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like that type of skill set, you will always be able to catch balls in the NFL because you're going to be in tighter windows. You know that coverage is going to be better. But if you can still find little ways to create a little bit of separation like that and catch contested balls, you're going to be good. I think he does have pretty good hands overall. I think a lot of the drops probably would because he had the broken hand. He doesn't play as fast as he ran a 40, but he still does have good speed. And then when you factor in something like his blocking, I mean,
blocking matters. Wide receiver blocking matters.
It most definitely does. He's never going to be a great yak guy or whatever, but dude, this guy, I think he's going to be a big problem. And, I'm not saying he'll be anything like Michael Thomas or whatever, but in some ways he does kind of remind you of him. And he doesn't need to be one of those receivers that runs a whole route tree, but running the same certain routes, slants, comebacks.
Calvin Johnson ran like 4 routes.
And he dominated, right? He doesn't need to be Julio Jones and run every route in the route tree. He doesn't need to be that in order to be really good. This good guy could be a real legit number 1 receiver. Hopefully, we develop him right.
My comparison was AJ Green. That's what I see. A guy who has enough speed, who's lanky, will go over the middle, can make contested catches, acrobatic catches. I think the yak thing. I think he's a decent yak guy. Like I said at Baylor, the fact that he's running a billion fades doesn't really the words, like I said, I'm not gonna be good at words right now. I'm too hard to sleep, but it's not conducive to high yak yardage in terms of running fades. So like I think he's decent at it. And like I said in that video, the way he could snap out of breaks at 6'3", 6'2", 207, whatever he is, with poor technique was really, really encouraging, because if he gets his technique down, watch out.
And that shows his athletic ability. That's why he ran a 90th percentile 3-cone. You see it. You see it. Poor technique. He still snaps out a break. It's because he's a superb athlete.
Yeah. Next pick, Ashton Davis. Thoughts overall and on the player as well. I could see by your face right there. You're not as
I'm with you. Like, some people were hyping him up and stuff after we took him. And then I watched you and Marcus's breakdown. And I'm like, oh God.
Yeah, we try to be positive, man. And and a lot of people are like, oh, he could start year 1 and he could do all these things. He's largely a pick because of athleticism. I didn't see the middle of the field roamer who's gonna make picks. Like, it was a lot of athleticism, and that was it. Like, I was not encouraged by his instincts or his smarts at all. Like, his tackling, the way he opens his hips up early in coverage, the way he gets locked into the quarterback's eyes. Like, me and Marcus hammered him. Like,
and there's no way you could be a quote unquote good rangy safety without good instincts. There's just no way. Marcus May is not a great athlete, but he's got good instincts.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. And you need those instincts before you need that range, and there's just so many times where he would lock onto the quarterback's eyes and he would start to run, as the quarterback's releasing the ball. And in the NFL, that's not good enough. You're going to get looked off. There's just no way.
And he's a terrible tackler too.
Awful. So he can't play deep. You can't have him deep because
he's soft and he takes terrible angles when in the run game.
Yeah. So concerning. Not very high on that pick, and people are like, "Oh my God, he should have been a first-round pick." And a lot of guys who are respected in draft Twitter were really high on him. I'm not going to just go with a consensus. I was not high on the pick.
Listen, he had some really he had a couple really flashy plays, and I think people, especially when it comes to safeties, because sometimes a free safety could be totally inactive all game, and then they can just flash with one play, and it's like, damn, that's a game-changing play right there.
Yeah.
But oftentimes, anyway.
You're about to get into something deep. All right, next pick.
That's you're hoping for the big upside pick, but yeah. Anyway,
raw. Needs development. Not ready to start year 1 or take any type of big role. Round 3, 79 overall. Jabari Zuniga. What are your thoughts on that one?
I actually kind of like his game. I didn't know nothing about him when we picked him. I was like, who the hell is this guy? And then they started showing his highlights and what his highlights, I know. But the dude he's got a really quick burst off the line of scrimmage.
Mm-hmm.
He's got powerful. A pretty nice athletic profile, but the dude is raw and he's got injury concerns. So third round pick, late third round pick, or no, that wasn't late third round. It was still pretty early third round. I don't mind the pick at all because we definitely need help rushing the passer. So, I don't like the pick as much as I liked Polite last year, but what did Polite end up being? So
yeah, they're both from Florida, so it's the same player anyway. Who cares? Next pick, another guy from Florida, P. Ryan. This is one that kind of people were lower on. And I think I was different than other people. I'm fine with the pick. I think an all-around running back is fine. I don't think you necessarily have to have top-end speed. There's plenty of running backs who are really effective in the NFL who are not, who can't take the top off the defense. Like even if and I said this on another pod, I don't know if it's this podcast, another podcast, whatever podcast I did. Even if he gives you a Bilal Powell type career, I'm taking that for a 4th-round pick.
That's great. That's exactly. Great.
So
I haven't watched your breakdown of P. Ryan yet. I've only watched, limited clips and stuff of him here or there. But 4th round is really like a sweet spot for taking running backs. Like you said, Bilal Powell, or just think of somebody like James White, the Patriots, right? James White's had a nice little career of himself. He's kind of like a do-it-all back.
He's the reason they won that Falcons game, right? He had like 37 catches.
Yeah, he's a 4th-round pick, right?
Yeah.
And P. Ryan is kind of similar, and he can kind of do it all.
Yeah.
He can give you some pass pro. He can catch the ball,
Yeah.
So 4th
people
round
see the guys like Anthony McFarland, like, oh, he could run fast. We should have got him. Yeah, but if he doesn't fit your scheme and you want an all-around guy who could, who doesn't tip off the defense type deal, like I'm fine with that pick.
Exactly. I totally want a guy who's an all-around player.
Yeah. Next pick, James Morgan, Florida International.
I haven't watched your thing of him yet either, but
all right.
whatever I did watch, it was pretty bad.
Yeah, bad.
And everything I heard was pretty bad. And he's old. So I didn't like that pick.
Bad feet. His arm is pretty ridiculous, though. That's what I'll say before you watch it. His arm is pretty special.
Yeah, I'm just generally not a fan of really strong armed quarterbacks who can't do a lot of other stuff well.
Josh Allen.
4th round. Don't tell that to the Bills.
The next pick, Cameron Clark, end of the 4th round. What are your thoughts on that one? Did you watch that one yet?
Yeah, I did. I watched it this morning, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, I like him. I like this pick a lot. I will say my brother, who's a probably almost number one Jets hater out there, he hates the Jets. He has an extreme passion for hating the Jets. He was really jealous, quote unquote, when we took Cameron Clark.
Okay.
I like the player nastiness. I like nasty old linemen. You should not be an offensive lineman if you don't have a nasty streak. And you think of Jonathan Thomas or whatever his name was, the guy who played for the Dolphins in Bullygate, whatever his name is, the kid from Stanford. Do you remember?
Damn it.
He was so soft. I mean, you're never going to be – and compare that to the guy who was, quote, unquote, bullying him, Richie Incognito, total opposite.
What the hell is that guy's – that's going to bother the shit.
Something with a J. Hold on.
Google that while we talk about the next one. I'm sure you could talk and type at the same time.
Yeah. So he is not going to be a tackle. No way he's going to be a tackle.
He's not a tackle.
When I was
people
watching
saying that, like, respect people like, oh, well, maybe he could play the right tackle for the. He's not playing tackle. He's not. There's no way he's playing tackle.
Yeah, when I was watching him and take his pass sets, it's like this kind of reminds me of what's the kid from Thomas?
Andrew Thomas.
Andrew Thomas.
Yeah.
And the way that they kind of hopped up and stuff. Yeah, he's just not that athletic or whatever. But, if you compare, if you put him at interior offensive line, like you said, him and Becton, I think it could be
really
pretty
want
nasty
them next
there.
to each other. And he's
I
nasty.
I don't think you'll see much of it this year, though. I don't think so.
Yeah, especially with the way that the offseason is going as well. Maybe midpoint if you're lucky. End of the season, maybe he starts a game or two. But I think it's going to take a year or two because people just act like I said, I always say Madden. Oh, just move him inside. It's a completely different position.
Yeah, interior offensive line transition to the NFL is one of the hardest. Because there are so many good defensive linemen in the NFL is the biggest thing.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of guys in college aren't even getting in 3-point stances and stuff nowadays. So the transition's pretty big. Jonathan Martin is the guy's name.
Yes. Okay. I was gonna say Jonathan Taylor, but he's like a running back from somewhere. Okay. Probably. Next pick, Bryce Hall. What are your thoughts on that one? 5th round pick.
Fifth round. I really like it there. I don't know if I'm as high on him as you. But I'm sure we'll get into that. But 5th round pick, I like it a lot. And I really do like corners that have a knack for the football because turnovers have always been a means to change games in the NFL. So you got a guy who can, whether it's tipping balls or picking them off themselves or stripping it from someone who has it, game changer.
Yeah, I'm really high on Hall. I like his technique a lot, and for the things that I did criticize, I think they're pretty easily fixable. So I'm excited to watch him.
I really do want to know why he slid so much, though, and for all those teams to pass up on him as many times as they did, it does make you concerned about his medical.
It had to be the medical, and especially with such a severe injury, and they couldn't evaluate him. They just didn't feel like taking the risk this year, and people said that before the draft, that a lot of guys who have injury issues or concerns are going to drop a lot. I'm still shocked he fell to the 5th round based on his film. I really am.
Hopefully it's just something that it was just unique to this year with the COVID stuff and not being able to re-examine players, and that it's not really as bad as it could be, because when injuries catch up to, corner is one of the positions, I say it all the time. Every time it seems that I do a show with you, that position declines faster than any other one. So if someone sustains an injury, they might not ever get back to the that level they need, and you need to be super athletic to play that position. Anyway.
And the next one, Braden Mann. What are your thoughts on the punter in the 6th?
I really like that.
Me too.
The 6th-round pick. Mm-hmm. How many 6th-round picks are really going to be a hit? The last one I could think of is Quincy Enunwa, right? And it took him a little while to develop. But if you can get a punter who's going to be a perennial Pro Bowl guy potentially every single year, you're not even going to pay that guy a lot of money. That's huge.
And it's something that translates too. Like you kick a ball in college, you go to kick a ball in NFL, and honestly, a benefit to him is like he's had tackles, so he was a linebacker, so he's an extra guy who can actually make a tackle or two, which is I don't know if
Lachlan Edwards wasn't exactly good at that.
Yeah. So last thing, unless you want to wrap up anything else about the offseason, like I said, I do want to get into the top 25. And I'm not even really comment on this a lot. Jawoll Adams, what are your quick thoughts about that whole issue? Do you sign him? Do you trade him? What are your thoughts on him, the Jets, etc.?
I've never been as high on him as other people, and I'm not really talking about as a player. I always liked him as a player, but his whole personality, it always seemed a little fake to me, right? Like he always seemed completely self-absorbed and narcissistic. Like everything is like every couple tweets or posts on Instagram is they keep doubting me.
Yeah,
I'm built different. Like it's been years of this crap. It's there's like an extreme level of insecurity there, even though he is really good. And this whole idea, like in some ways he is a real good leader and stuff, but with this, I don't know how you could say that anymore. That he's a quote unquote really good leader. And the whole president thing bothered me too, but I guess that might deal with a little bit like one of my things with teaching is kind of always digging up dirts on many presidents and stuff we were just talking about, like, how history books are written and stuff and how they're written in a favorable way. Mm-hmm. And if you look at a lot of stuff some presidents did that's not really talked about in like a mainstream textbook, that's like kind of my thing. And like the whole fact that like he wants to be called president or whatever, like, and then he changed his Twitter handle to Prez. Like, I don't know. That always just kind of bothered me the wrong way too. Like, if the president like a great thing or whatever? I don't know. So
you're saying you hate Jawoll Adams, pretty much. Is what you're saying.
I'm saying I really don't like his personality that much.
Yeah, and especially what you like liking the tweets that he does and the cryptic stuff, and like the last thing was like, oh, I'm at the top and I'm staying there. Like he's very careful with his words because he posts himself in a Jets jersey. He didn't say I'm staying here. He said I'm staying there. Like he's really careful about what he says, and like how cryptic it is and all this shit. Like
think about how butthurt he gets over criticism, right? Let's bring up an example I brought up before when I did a show with you. You tweeted out something positive of him his rookie year, right?
Oh, yes.
Positive video, right?
Yeah.
He retweeted it. You probably got thousands of likes or whatever because he's got a huge following.
Yeah, I remember this. Yeah.
Then a couple tweets later, you tweeted out something negative of him, which you do with every player.
He was watching
right?
it. Yep.
And then he unretweeted the first retweet.
Like an hour or two later.
Right? So it's like, I don't know. I mean, so just that kind of bothers me the wrong way. And this whole leadership culture changer thing, I get it. The Jets is a tough situation to turn around or whatever.
Well, listen, you're coming in and you're saying you're going to be the leader, you're going to turn around, you're never going to hurt the Jets and all this stuff, and you got to understand the stuff with COVID and blah, 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 and then you're acting like you do. like I said, it's a hard situation because if he was just some other guy, I would say get rid of this freaking guy. Even if he was just solid, but to be a guy who I think if he continues on his career arc, he could be in the Hall of Fame. It's hard
For
at
sure.
24 years old to just say,
two
okay,
All-Pros already?
2 All-Pro. Yeah. And
Revis only has like 4 All-Pros in his entire career.
Yeah, and he's 24. He's the best safety in the NFL, so it's hard to say, okay, I want him off my team. And safety is my favorite position in terms of like a really good player. Like I just love watching safeties. Dawkins is my favorite player ever. And now you have this guy who's energetic, hits hard, is good all-around player, and now he's acting like this. So
I want to say one thing. So you brought up the fact that, and you follow the news of the Jets a little bit more closely than me. Let's say hypothetically the Jets did promise him something in January or whatever, right? I don't know that to be true or not, but let's say they did. And then the COVID thing happened. Well, that certainly does change everything. And then Jamal might say, well, I don't care if it's COVID or whatever. Christian McCaffrey got a contract. So what? How many players didn't get contracts? And are the Panthers a well-run organization?
Exactly.
Because the last time I checked, they're not. And this is the same organization that when the new owner bought it, they promised to keep the statue up of the former owner, and then they took it down or whatever. So I don't care if the Panthers did it or whatever. Did Patrick Mahomes get a new deal yet?
Yeah, exactly. And the thing with McCaffrey, like I don't know why the Panthers wouldn't just let him play out his rookie contract, franchise him for a year
and that's
probably
a dumb
get rid of him.
Contract too. It's a dumb contract. It's a dumb contract.
Yeah. So
and the thing is hey, listen, good GMs don't get bullied by good players. They just don't.
And Douglas isn't blinking right now, so it's a positive in terms of how he's handling it. My concern is that he met with Christopher Johnson when he was saying, "Oh, I'm not talking to the GM and the coach," and Christopher Johnson said, "Oh, he was the one who said, oh, January, whatever, we're going to give you an offer," and that's not what happened. But he has to understand he's smarter than he's acting. Like in terms of COVID and all this stuff, like we don't know what the salary cap's going to be, and now you have Darnold. Is Darnold going to see this and say I don't think Darnold's that type of person, but he could. Like you got to pay your quarterback. So
yeah, I don't think Darnold's that type of person. I think this is a parting of the ways between them. I think Darnold's the good boy that will show some kind of loyalty and things like that. I don't.
Yeah, well, we'll see what happens. Oh my God! You know what I just realized that we said Darnold. I didn't put Darnold in my. I completely forgot about him.
That would be something I would do more than you.
Oh, hold on. I got to
that's funny.
Say something, really Kyle, because I got to figure out where the hell I'm putting this kid right now.
Sure. So
what are I guess your thoughts? Well, okay, I'll ask this, and I don't want to ask it. Minimum trade return for Adams while I do this.
I wouldn't do it for anything less than 2 first-rounders. Like I said before, when I came on with you a couple months ago pre-draft, I said I would trade him, but the price would have to be right. But now I'd be even less likely to want to trade him because, okay, if you could trade him pre-draft, come away with 2 first-round picks this year, a first-round pick next year, and then something else, like maybe like a third-rounder or 2 firsts and a third. But now the draft's over. So now if you trade Adams, you don't have any pieces that are going to help you this year. I mean, maybe you can get a player from another team, but it's in all likelihood not going to be an elite player, right? So I wouldn't do it for – you don't trade elite players unless you're getting – listen, we got a first rounder from Revis, but that was after he tore his ACL and there was uncertainty of what, how he was going to respond. Jawoll Adams has been by and large super healthy his entire career, and he's totally, still on the upswing.
The thing about the trade too is like I'm almost more in the camp of first round pick and a player, because the player is guaranteed. Whereas 2 first-round picks, you could end up with let's say you could
flop on both of them, yeah.
Exactly. What if it's Leonard Williams and let's say whoever Darren Lee? Like you could have one bust and one guy who's solid, but that doesn't make up for Jawoll Adams. Like people, I know that a lot of coaches and GMs whatever like draft picks. I don't like draft picks as much because they're complete wild cards. So like you're giving up a guy who's a best safety in the NFL for 2 swings, to the fences type deal. So I'm in the same boat. But in terms of like the draft compensation, I'd rather have a first or second and La'el Collins or a first and Michael Gallup.
But why on earth would Dallas trade La'el Collins? Why on earth?
Because Jerry Jones is an idiot. I couldn't tell you, So we'll see what happens. And there's some people out there.
Listen, they just lost Travis. They lost Travis Frederick. They're strong piece of their whole team.
I've heard people say recently, I'll do Jawoll Adams for Yannick Ngakoue straight up. I'm like,
that's
what?
retarded.
What?
And I like Yannick Ngakoue.
Yeah, listen,
but you're gonna have to give him a super huge contract. His contract's probably going to be bigger than Jamal's.
That and listen, Jawoll Adams is an elite player. Yannick Ngakoue is a
not
solid.
Good in the run game.
He's a solid player. That's it.
Yeah, he's not good in the run game.
He had 5.5 sacks last year. I know stats don't mean anything, but he had 5.5 sacks last year at the same time. You know, Jordan Jenkins had more sacks.
Of those against the Jets.
He probably did, but Jordan Jenkins had more sacks than him. You know, like come on, you know.
But Yannick is far superior of a pass rusher.
Yeah, but
that just goes to show you that those stats are kind of meaningless.
In no way, shape, or form does he make more of an impact, even though he's in a more impactful position than Jawoll Adams in the game. Not even close.
No way. That's just people getting butthurt because that my player's criticizing my team. Mm-hmm. So I want him out. He's a bad apple.
All right. I haven't seen that voice before. I heard that voice before. I like it. Okay, so let's get into the top 25. I just had to do a quick edit.
You're damn right.
Mine. Yeah, and I changed around so much. I'm not even comfortable with where I put them at all. But give me some guys who missed your list. I had like 6 or 7 guys who were right on the edge who I put them in at one time and took them out.
I don't have that list right on top. So why don't you start that off? Let me pull up the Jets total roster because I only have my top 25 up.
And in order, I don't want to spend too long. So I want to do the top 25 guys. Hall was my 25. I took him out. And
I have Hall at 25.
Okay, so the thing that this is for people who are like watching, we had to text about what exactly is it. Is it right now what they were last year, or what we think they're going to be this year? And we went with more of the what they're going to be this year and after the season type deal.
Yes.
So that's why I had Hall there. I had Hall at 25, now 26. And just to run through the other ones, I think I did them in order. Alex Lewis was my 27. Ryan Griffin. I had P. Ryan and Gore were both right there. I think P. Ryan's going to come in for his first year and be really solid because he was solid in college.
I considered putting P. Ryan in, but I didn't.
Yeah, and then after that, it was Winters, Adoga, and Henry Anderson. So those are guys who were right on the edge. But I think P. Ryan's
Henry
really
Anderson
solid.
Missed yours?
Yeah, he was really bad last year from when I watched.
He wasn't very good, but when you look at the bottom of the roster, man, it's tough to put some of these guys in here.
Yeah, I think some guys are. You'll see. You'll see what I did. But Hall, if healthy, I think he's gonna make a big impact. Alex Lewis, I think he's overrated by Jets fans.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah,
I never was impressed once with any single block. He never had an impressive block.
And when the Jets had a big play, it was holding on Alex Lewis like all the time. So
you're talking about the Le'Veon Bell run against the Bengals.
A ton of them. There's a ton of them. But he
totally did not change the dynamic of the play, but it was a stupid penalty.
Yeah, exactly. So he's a guy. I think he's a little bit more rah-rah. People like him. But he's not a good player, and I think next year they're getting at least one new guard. Like I'm hoping in an ideal situation, it's Becton and Clark shows enough, and then you have either Fant or Adoga step up at right tackle, and then you have Mcgovern, and then you need a new guard because I don't think Van Roten or Alex Lewis or Brian Winters are the long-term answer.
I considered Van Roten here, but I haven't really watched him, so.
Okay, so who are some of the guys who just missed your list?
I considered Van Roten. I considered P. Ryan. Let's see. There was another one that you named that I said I considered. Who was it?
Griffin, Gore.
I considered Frankie Louvu. I didn't put him in there, but I considered it.
He disappeared last year. He
did.
Didn't do anything.
I did like him the year before, though. That's why I considered it.
I'm surprised he wasn't.
I considered Neville Hewitt.
I consider him. I feel he's overrated. I think he makes tackles and hard hits.
I agree.
He's really bad in coverage. Really bad in coverage.
He is. I'm not doubting that at all. I also consider Burgess too. I don't have him in here, and I considered Griffin too. But I think Griffin and I don't know.
I'm going to take credit for
Griffin. I think he just kind of like got a lot of stuff that was opportune. Like a lot of his big catches and stuff just came with blown coverages.
Yeah, that was a guy who was signed. And people were saying, he might be cut. I was higher on Griffin than like people were. I said, watch out, he might be a decent number 2, and I think he's a decent number 2. I think that's what he is.
He's a decently smart player and stuff. He's a guy you like having on your roster. Could help teach a young guy and stuff. But in terms of athletic ability, I mean, he's got decent hands and stuff. He didn't have really much athletic ability. He's just a decently smart player who just fits a role in the team.
You know,
he doesn't do anything
tight ends,
to impress
I also think I like Herndon, but I also think he's a little bit overrated by Jets fans.
Yes,
I think there's a lot of situations when he got all the yards he did in his rookie year where he was just wide open. Like he didn't really do much to get open. But,
I have him on my list too, and I just like last year, I think I definitely had him higher than you did, and I think I have him higher than he probably should be this year, but I'm not changing anything at this point.
Yeah, neither am I. I'm sticking with it. You might just change something right as I said Herndon. So I'm actually gonna type two lists. I'm gonna do yours and mine. Kyle. So you can tweet
Okay.
it out and you can get harassed. Hopefully. So we're going to go with your 25, which you said was Hall already. So
Yeah, Bryce Hall, 25.
all right. Yeah. Mine,
By the
like
way, I put Bryce Hall, 25. I did not put Mollett or Bless Austin there.
okay.
I think he'll be better than both of them.
Yeah. So hold on a second. That's funny that you said that. But so, like I said, Hall was in mine, but his is, if you can guarantee me he's gonna be healthy for a decent part of the year, he'd be there. But you can't guarantee that right now, so that's why he just was on on the cusp of the list, but did not make it. So, my 25 was Van Roten. Think he's a pretty solid pass blocker. Run game, he leaves a little bit to be desired, but I think he's the best of the three guards the Jets have right now, which is surprising for the contract he got. But I'm not saying he's good. I just think he's better than Alex Lewis, and I think he's better than Winters from a reliability standpoint. Not a lot of penalties. Decent pass protector is okay in the run game. I know he's 31 or 32, but I think he's going to be below average, but still better than those two guys. So he was my 25.
But there is something to be said for in the NFL not being terrible on the offensive line.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Because
we know.
there are very few offensive linemen that you can say, yeah, this guy's just good.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's a lot of guys who are just middling, and
Yeah.
to be middling or even slightly below average, there's something to be said for that because there's a ton of guys that are just terrible.
I'm sure we'd have taken a lot of slightly below average guys last year, and I think he's more than slightly below average. Like I think he's not a good starter, but he's also not a backup level player. Like he can start on a bad team with not the best guard situation.
He's not Alex Lewis.
No, he's better than Alex Lewis. Who was your 24?
24, I got Henry Anderson, which I had him last year. Let me see what I had him last year, just for comparison's sake. I had Henry Anderson at 7 last year when we did this.
Wow. Fall from grace for Henry Anderson. He just
Yeah.
didn't do anything. He wasn't
He
very
really
effective.
Didn't. He really
and I
didn't.
thought he was going to be good, like long legger, stunter in this type of defense. And honestly, so my problem with this year, and speaking about this year, and I have a decent knowledge of it, but week 6, 7, after that, I stopped podcasting. I stopped doing film breakdowns. So I don't have as much knowledge as I did the last couple of years, but I still know the players enough. But Henry Anderson didn't make my list.
Yeah, I watched the coach's film of every game, and he never jumped off the screen on me. He always, whenever you watch him, he never looks impressive. Like he's just kind of a guy that just keeps fighting,
Mm-hmm.
but he just looks thoroughly unathletic. And even though he was thoroughly, again, unathletic this year, he just didn't make the noise. He didn't have the production. He didn't win.
Mm-hmm.
I got other guys here who you might be like, wow, you had that guy there. And I'm like, yeah, this guy was a lot better at getting to the quarterback than this guy. So you'll see. Anyway.
So my 24 is actually Bless Austin. I think that, again, he's overrated by Jets fans, but I think
big time.
I think for him,
Joe, he had an 80 PFF grade for this week, though.
Yeah, playing Duck Hodges or wherever he got benched. So I think for what he showed in his rookie year as a late round pick, I was impressed. I thought he would be an afterthought, but for him to start and play as well as he did for the draft pick, he was. I was impressed, but he wasn't like a number. There's people this offseason like, oh, we don't have to worry about number 2 spot. Bless Austin's already going to start. I'm not that high on him at all. I think he's a role player, but I'm going to have him at 24. I think he'll progress. I think he'll be a decent number 3, number 4 on the team, better than Darryl Roberts, things like that. So he did make my list at 24.
Yeah, not a bad 7th round pick.
Yeah, exactly. And like I said, for a 7th round pick, impressed. Starting corner, no, not yet. Not even close. 23, who is it?
George Fant. And that's with me watching very minimal film, but I took highly into consideration what you said about his ascendance in his 2019 film.
Okay. My 23 is Terrell Basham. I like Basham a lot. I think he made a lot more plays than people realize. Again, I'm not going to get too deep into his film because I didn't do a film breakdown of him, but I think he's a decent backup role player type. I don't think he's ever going to be a true starter, but he's a couple of years deep into his career, got cut from the Colts. I think he found a role with the Jets, but I don't think he's a starter level player, but I think he was definitely solid in the role he was asked to play last year for the Jets defense.
I'm telling you, this kid got better. Like it's seemingly every week.
Mm-hmm.
He really, I mean, in terms of pure edge rushing, you could argue that he was more effective than Jordan Jenkins, especially late in the season.
To be completely transparent, I need to go back and completely watch his
serious.
film.
You watch his film, you're going to be like, okay, I should have had him higher. I'm telling you, when you do it. If I don't know if you're going to plan on doing a film breakdown of him or whatever, but
I think I told Scott the other day, the guy, if I could do one film breakdown right now, it'd be really surprising. If you had one, let's give you two guesses on guy who I would probably want to do a film breakdown on.
I'm saying he'd probably be one of them, right? Based on you bringing that up.
No. So my number one is Fadokasi. I really want to do a film breakdown on Fadokasi.
He's fun.
But who is your 20? Now we're on 22.
I got Desir there at 22.
Okay.
I don't know if that's too high for you or whatever, but I have him there.
No, that's pretty.
I really look forward to watching. I know you have a lot of plays on him. And by the way, I heard you saying, "Oh, I have like 60-some plays on Desir. Maybe I'll just do 40." No. My opinion is you're always kind of a volume guy. You recorded the plays already. You've already broken them down. Put them all there. If people don't want to watch all of them, they don't have to watch all of them.
Again, transparency. There'll be some plays I'll be doing, and I'll be like watching, like, this is so hard to explain over text. I kind of don't want to, and I'll just drag it and delete it.
Okay, well that's fine. You don't have to do it over
no,
tweet,
it's
but you could do it on your show though.
I am on. I'm on play 45 right now. I'm gonna have at least 59, 60 at least. I had 70 at first. I deleted about 10.
Plus, if you're putting, you put in the article. Never mind. I was thinking about Twitter. Okay, I understand.
Twitter doesn't get as much as they used to. So, this year for you, my 22 is Nathan Shepard. Again, a guy
You're too low on him.
Too low on him. We'll see. So, a guy, and this is where I struggle with the bottom, because projections. Shepard also played really well last year, and he was a guy who at the beginning of, I think the Jets have a lot of solid role player types. And beginning of the last year, people were like, "Oh, just get rid of Fadokasi and Shepard," and look how well they played. So honestly, when I put Shepard there, I feel like I am too low on him on my list to be, again, transparency. But I just couldn't put him above some of the other guys I'm about to talk about in a little bit. But I'm impressed with Shepard. Shepard definitely is another guy who I think on the Jets' deep line rotation, he's not going to get as many snaps as he would on any other team, but I think he's a starting level interior defensive lineman at this point.
Yeah, that's cool. Bring him in fresh. That's cool. Bring him,
which is a huge thing for defensive line. We've talked about that many, many times. Yeah. So, your next guy, which is
21, right?
21. Yeah.
Mekhi Becton. Got Mekhi Becton at 21. Okay. And you kind of were clowning. You're like, "Oh, you have him in your top 25." If you don't have him in your top 25, I don't understand.
You never know.
Maybe I'm too low on him here. I don't know, but
yeah, I have him a little bit higher. Obviously, I didn't name him. I think obviously I wouldn't name Alex Lewis and Griffin and P. Ryan, so they're all going to be better than Becton this year. But that'd be a huge disappointment for your first year in the NFL. My 21 is that what we're on?
Yes.
I'm actually going to change. I'm going to do a quick change up because I'm about to say this. My 21 is Desir. I like him, but there's a lot of people who are really, he's going to make a huge impact. Again, and I explained this, I think, in another podcast, he gives me Morris Claiborne 2017 type vibes, like bend but don't break, decent tackler, but there's some frustrating plays that he makes opening his hips up way too early. And me and Marcus will criticize the hell out of him when we do the show on him. A guy who really likes to use soft press technique, but doesn't get his hands on, gets his eyes on the quarterback too early. So I think he's like an okay to below average number 2. As a number 1, he's gonna get torched a little bit. He's all right at best, but just because he's your number 1 corner, Jets fans, doesn't mean he's good. He's not a good number 1 corner. He's not even a good number 2. I think he's a passable number 2, but people will be a little bit disappointed unless he completely transforms what he does and he gets his hands on more and press and he plays in that no man's land, as I call it too often, where he's not in a position to get hands on. He's also not in a position to take read steps. There's a lot of little things that I criticize about his game. So it's a lot to ask to change in, this point in his career. Again, I don't know how DB's coaches are coaching him. I don't get DB coaches in the NFL.
You're very nitpicky with DBs. I'll say that. But I think your criticisms are right, though.
Yeah. So I don't get how DB coaches in the NFL consistently, unless it's like a Jambo, first in, first out, box coverage, whatever it is. I don't get how they're telling them to play in that consistent no man's land. Like, get your freaking hands on. You got long arms,
Yeah,
you
I
got
don't get that
power.
either.
Why are you going to open your hips up, let the guy take that hip and throw a soft punch? Like, it's ineffective. Shuffle, get your hands on, like, or play off and use read steps. Yeah, I think in terms of my most criticism, it's probably corners and receivers. But yeah, he's my number two. He's 21 for me. Who was your 20?
Yeah, it'd be really interesting if you could somehow, I guess, get in touch with a defensive back coach from the NFL who might not still be in the league, but maybe just like recently retired out of the league or whatever, to kind of pick their brain about that.
Doing. Yeah, I don't get it.
Because you and Marcus both are constantly criticizing that, and I think that your criticisms are really legit. So I don't know. 20, I have Frank Gore.
Wow. All right.
I mean, listen, dude. I mean, sadly, he's going to get way too many carries this year. But the dude still produces, man. Just put on his film. The dude still produces.
And I, if I do a show, I'm gonna put some of the messages, the text or whatever I had between myself and Eric Turner, who is the smartest Bills guys out there, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
And he was
saying,
"There's
no one even close."
Yeah, listen, what happened with him was he was put in a lot of goal line type situations, short yardage situations that killed his yards per carry. But you have all these guys on, oh, what is his yards per carry? Oh, it's 3 or whatever. And, oh, he's a bad player. I still think he's going to be an effective player. Like, people are acting like, oh, my God, he just signed to be, a mentor. Like, he's still a role type player. He's not going to be the lead back. He probably shouldn't be the number 2. But a number 3 guy who can come in and get 5-6 carries a game, like, I'm fine with it. So, I'm fine with your ranking there, even though I didn't have him in my, ranking. But
Gore has an extreme amount of long explosive plays in his career, especially in those years with the 49ers, man. He was breaking, and it's going to be crazy that he's played this long and he's had 3 ACL surgeries.
It just shows how dedicated he is. Like when me and Marcus talked about with Hall, like, I'm not sure if you've ever torn anything, but it takes a lot of maintenance, consistent work. And if you don't work it, you're going to be out of the NFL. And obviously there's freak injuries you can't combat with training, but it just shows how hard that guy works,
Yeah, and he's just got great instincts, which, go a long way for the running back position. And, it seems that he's very rare that he doesn't pick the right hole to hit. And he's solid in everything. He's not like, for example, Saquon Barkley. A lot of people like to tout. Dude can't pass block at all.
And he bounces runs way too much too. He doesn't just take what's there, and sometimes.
Yeah, but I mean, Gore's solid. Like, he can kind of do everything for you at this point. With his deteriorated skills, he's not going to break off those explosive runs like he used to. But you need him to get a couple yards in a short down situation. Especially if he's fresh, he can do it for you.
Yeah, I like that ranking for him. I think he's underrated. I say overrated a lot by Jets fans with Lewis and all these guys. I think he's being overlooked by Jets fans a little bit. My 20 is Denzel Mims. And again, me and Marcus both said we think he could, like, his peak of his ceiling. I think he could be a top 5, top 10 receiver in the NFL. I think he has those skill sets. But my issue with the rookies this year is the shortened camp, the connection with Darnold, all that stuff.
Has Darnold, he has thrown to Mims, right? So far this offseason? Just wondering.
So again, a rookie transition from receiver is not easy either. And no position's easy. I don't think it's an easy transition for anything, but not getting a lot of timing with your quarterback, not being able to see NFL corners or running a lot of your things on air. It's a lot different going against, let's say, even when he played Oklahoma, to going against Patrick Peterson this year, and there's not that true number 1 X receiver on the Jets, so he might get some attention, especially if he starts to lighten up a little bit. So I think he's gonna have a solid year, and I think he could be that number 1 receiver in the future. I'm just not sure it happens right away because of the Baylor system, the routes he wasn't running, etc. So I think he'll, maybe he gets, let's say, 45, 50 catches, he gets 700 yards. I'll be happy with that in rookie year, so.
Yeah, I think Gase should bring him along slowly too. I think that you'd be doing him a huge disservice, and you'd be doing your entire offense a disservice if you start making him run patterns and stuff that he's not used to running and didn't run frequently in college. I know that. See, that part, Like, could he run other routes? He probably can, because he is a good athlete, but he just hasn't done it. And I think that, work someone in slowly year
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
So if you want to have an effective offense and you want to help your young quarterback out, have your second round pick do something that he can do.
And this is where we're getting to this range of like below average-ish type starters. Like this is this kind of window. So I think he didn't make a below average number 2 this year. But again, I think he has I think out of the draft of those top guys, I think he's a higher ceiling than Judy. I think he's a higher ceiling than Lamb. I think he's a higher ceiling than Ruggs. I think he's a higher ceiling than Jefferson and Justin Jefferson and all these guys. I am really high on Mims, so I don't think that like I'm not. I have 4.5 hours of me doing his film. Trust me, I'm very high on him. But like I said, year one, he's my 20th overall player. Who is your 19?
Kyle Phillips. He might not even be on your list.
I'm not saying anything. Continue.
I like Kyle Phillips, man. I mean, I mentioned this last time and I actually forgot his name, but I was like, yeah, who's 98, man? Like he stood out to me many times. Undrafted rookie. Listen, to come in as an undrafted rookie, at times last year he was better than Quinnen Williams. I know that's tough to say, and for a tough pill for Jets fans, especially us two to swallow, because we were definitely Quinnen Williams stands.
Still am.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, I'm wearing the jersey right now. I actually was going to wear mangled today, but I couldn't find it. I don't know where it went.
I stole it.
I did let my dad borrow it for the game that I saw you at.
There you go.
I don't know if he ever returned it to me.
There it
anyway,
is.
So listen, Kyle Phillips, you put on his tape, you're going to see him winning frequently.
Mm-hmm.
He's not great at getting the quarterback, whatever, but he did have, he just a solid player all around. I mean, nothing flashy, but I mean, you saw some good signs for a rookie. I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, my 19 is Fant. You said before, George Fant. And again, I think for what people think he is, I think him being a slightly below average-ish type starter, I'm higher on him than a lot of Jets fans are. Like I said, especially if he can continue the upward trajectory. I think he was on in 2019. He's 27, 28 years old, but he doesn't have a lot of snaps. And like I said, that progression was impressive. So I think Fant could end up being a long-term right tackle for the Jets. Now, am I banking my whole bank account on that? No, not necessarily, but people are acting like he's like foregone conclusion. He's gonna be terrible and all this stuff. I think he'd develop into being a decent starter, and you can get away with a few decent starters. Like let's say you hit on Clark back then, and then you have Mcgovern. That's like 3+ starters, and then you have a average right tackle and a slightly below average right guard in the future. Like you can get away with that line. That line could be good. Like the top 15, top 10 type unit. Like you don't need a bunch of superstars. So I think he could be a guy who develops into the long-term right tackle for the Jets. So I'm excited to do that film review. I think people are going to be a little bit more impressed, and I think they will be. But now with saying that, and I've said it before, that first 30, 40 minutes of that show is going to be ugly. I'm telling you, because when I first watched him, I was like, this is a terrible signing. But I got impressed more as I went along with the film. So Fant's my 19.
And hopefully he's a good scheme fit too. Adam Gase, his years in Denver and especially the first year in Miami where Jay Ajayi had a crazy year. So much outside zone and, Fant and his athleticism and his ability to reach people. Hopefully he's a good scheme fit too.
I think so.
That might have been Joe Douglas saying, hey, listen, I'm going to try to help you out here, Gase.
Yeah, I think it's a good scheme fit. I think he's a guy who'd run a lot of things. I think even for his athleticism, he has a good amount of power too. When he gets proper foot placement and hand technique and things like that, he can actually move guys too. So he's an athlete for sure.
It's interesting. The three, Clark, Fant, and Becton, all three of those guys, you watch their film, like whenever zone plays are run, they have a tendency to just toss guys and then just, plow them into the ground. Yeah. All three of those guys are pretty good at that.
Who is your 18?
18, I have Basham there.
Okay.
Really, if you want
to – you're killing me for being 5 spots lower on him?
5 spots is a pretty big difference, right?
I don't know. Not really.
Maybe not. Maybe not with these bottom tier guys. I don't know. I thought I actually had him a little higher, but –
yeah.
No, listen, Basham's pretty good, though. I'm serious. If you're going to do a re-examination of a player that you don't think you're as familiar with, he might be one of the people that you consider or whatever. I'm trying to remember what moves he's really good with, and I feel like he really has any move that he's great with, maybe long arm or whatever, but the dude does on a decent rate get to the quarterback. He's not a bad player. I think in terms of a pure just guy coming off the edge, in terms of pure pass rush, he very well might be better than Jordan Jenkins.
Yeah, I see some good length and power in his game at the baseline of what he has. So,
yeah,
which are things you can work with.
He's definitely not bending and dipping around to get to the quarterback.
No.
It is more of a power thing. But hey, I mean, he's pretty good at it.
Yeah, I'm fine with that spot. That was your 18. My 18 is Perriman. Again, this comes with some questions about his past, his injuries. This is another guy who I'm higher on the Jets fans. I think that film review proved it. A lot of people were saying, it kind of seems that their mindset is, oh, well, you had Evans and Godwin around and they were just force feeding him the ball and he wasn't getting open. When, in fact, I showed him burning Darius Slay in the Lions game earlier in that season, burning this guy, Winston either missing him with the actual thrower, missing his read, and not seeing Perriman open. So I think Perriman could be a decent starter, considering 11 personnel. Like I think he could be a guy who gets nearly 1,000 yards. Obviously, if he keeps developing. And I say all the time, Kyle, every guy's career track is not linear. Like he could be a guy who's a late bloomer. That's fine. He proved to me a lot last year, not just in those last 5 games, the whole season. I thought he was pretty solid. I might be a little bit too low on him. I think he's going to surprise some people this year for the Jets. But I had him at 18.
Yeah, I have him on my list too. I won't say where yet, but I'm higher on him as well. Yeah, I mean, he's a player that he doesn't have a lot of releases off the line of scrimmage, but
that hop step,
it is pretty effective or whatever. And
he's got to add, like, I would like to see him add to that. Like when you saw some guys during that season anticipate that hop step. I would like to see him add like a rocker off of that hop to really screw with guys. So he definitely needs to add that, more hand fighting things. But like in terms of like size, speed, and just hands, like he has a big frame. He's fast as hell. He makes contested catches. Like he's definitely more of an athlete than Anderson is.
Yeah, he definitely doesn't quite play like he's quite 4.27. Like 4.27 is like Henry Ruggs speed. Yeah. He doesn't quite play like that. But
I'd say like low 4.4s, high 4.3s.
He's still super fast. But the promising thing is he's not just the one trick pony that you think, okay, this guy's got 4.2 speed. He's just winning on go routes like that. Like I got to be honest. I know Robbie Anderson did improve in his route running and stuff, but I'll still stick with the Robbie Anderson one trick pony thing. I don't care. Because he's definitely not a yak guy, but Perriman is going to give you more versatility, I think, in the amount of different routes that he can run. Mm-hmm. He's definitely got higher upside than Robbie, in my opinion.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm excited. He's one of the people that I'm most excited for.
Yeah, and he's a guy who can actually maybe run an end around and break a tackle or two. Like, has Robbie Anderson broken one tackle in his entire career?
Dude, I don't think so. And the alarming rate in which people could bring him down with one arm is
I would bet my bank account he is not 190. I'm 180, and I'm not necessarily small, and my arms are 2 times bigger than that dude's arms are.
Yeah, and not only is Robbie not good at breaking tackles, he also has no moves when the ball's in his hands.
He has no wiggle.
None at all.
Yeah, he's a high-waisted, high-legged strider type guy who's blazing speed. Yeah, he's legit 4.2, low 4.3 type guy, but in terms of like
definitely one of the best pure deep threats in the entire league.
I still call him a top 5 deep threat in the league. Yes, I think he is that. I'm not going to say that he's not now that he's not on the Jets. So, but he went to play with a guy who can't throw a deep ball. So we'll see how that works.
Not going to be too well.
Who is your 17? I think we're on for you, right?
Yeah, Denzel Mims. We already spoke about him and why I like him, so probably don't need to speak too much more about that. But yeah, I think 17 for a second-round rookie who's going to have some learning curve, I think is a pretty fair spot.
Are you going to bash me for being 2 spots lower on him, or what's the deal?
Nah, I'll let you slide on this one.
Sweet. So we are on 17. That's where Kyle Phillips is for me. He's really good in the run game, like stacking and shedding and making tackles for loss. Smart player, doesn't overcommit to gaps early. I like Kyle Phillips a lot, especially for a guy who was an undrafted guy. Think about just people's career tracks. Like look at Shepard and Fadokasi their year 1 to what they were year 2. If Phillips keeps developing, man, he could be. And if
Quinnen develops too,
Dude, their defensive front is, which, like, listen,
and they don't even have Leonard Williams anymore.
I love Jawoll Adams, but we don't need a lot more in the run game. Like, I know he makes plays in the run game, but we have a lot of players in that front seven, a lot of them.
Yes. We didn't even mention our 2 linebackers yet, 2 stud linebackers.
Oh, yeah, we'll get to them. Well, and another linebacker, I'm sure that's on your list, is coming up as well. So, yeah, he's my 17. You're going to say him, and I'll remind you. You forget him right now. Next player for you that's going to be your 16. Who's your 16?
I got Herndon at 16. I don't know if that's too low for you or whatever. No. I definitely had him higher last year. Let's see. Where did I have him? I had him at 11 last year. And I thought that was too high, but I still did it. Yeah, I mean, Herndon's solid. He could use some work and stuff. You know, I started thinking, like, when I was doing the middle part of this roster, I was like thinking, like, yeah, this still isn't a good roster, man. Because when I started doing these middle guys, I was thinking, yeah, these still aren't that good of players. But
I think it's like decent depth, but in terms of like the top end type talent, it's lacking in some areas for sure.
Yeah. But yeah, Herndon's solid, but I think a lot of the criticisms that you have of him, he's not as good of a player, blocker as some people think that he is.
He's passable, but that's about it.
His hands really bother me.
Oh, that drop during that Dolphins game?
Yeah.
That was bad.
I mean, it's some of it is technique, and then it's also concentration too.
Yeah, he goes to that wide clap instead of that diamond you need.
Yeah, and also, like, you know, some of his catches and stuff. Like, I know he had a pretty nice stat line, but he did also get a good amount of just, you know, blown coverages and stuff too. And then, like, you know, the crazy catch in the Packers game, people, you know, nice catch, but that's kind of rare. So people kind of overhype a player for that.
You know well, it's like, yeah. Highlight film is easy to make. If you look at all their plays, you know, 3-minute film, you could put up really ridiculous plays. So yeah, that Packers catch is, you know, it's a great catch, but how often was he doing that stuff? So my 16 is Becton. You had him a couple spots lower.
I had him at 21, which I guess is probably too low, but whatever.
Too low. No, it's.
I couldn't justify putting him over some of these other guys, though. I don't, you know.
Yeah, I think he's going to be an average starter, and that's what I think we started to get these average guys. I think his first year he'll be an average starter, just because of how big he is. I think he's pretty. I say on Scott's podcast, I'm lower on him in the run game, but higher than him on the pass game. Than most
can you do me a favor? Pull up play 20. I think play 20 on your Becton film.
Play 20. If this is the play you want, I'll be very impressed, Kyle Smith. I'm not going to lie. Which
might not
review?
Be
the most recent one?
The recent one. Shoot. I didn't write anything down, so this is just me going off the top of my head. I was looking at it a little bit today.
Is it a pass set?
It is a pass set. If you can pull that up.
Okay, hold on. You went full screen. Actually, hold on a second. All right, and I paused it just to pull up the film. I'm kidding. I had to go to the bathroom. So this is the play that Kyle wanted to talk about. He was right, 20. I am very, very impressed that you remember this.
Hey, it's just because I was watching it this morning.
Give yourself some credit. Didn't you say you watched Clark this morning too?
I did, yeah.
You binged. All right, cool. I appreciate that.
I did binge, and I watched your Bryce Hall yesterday.
Damn. All right. So now you just need to watch P. Ryan, right, at this point?
P. Ryan, I didn't watch Morgan or Huff either. So
okay.
Those guys.
Did you watch Man or no?
You didn't do Man.
No, I didn't. So I thought I was going to try to slip. Like, really? You know that much about punting? All right. So let's play.
Yeah. So when I was watching this play, all right. So look, let's just say, first of all, Becton has pretty good footwork overall. Now, if I remember correctly, you were criticizing him for opening the gate a little too early on this one, right?
Yeah, right there.
Yeah. Now, all right. So while he's pretty smooth with his feet and stuff, but he still needs some work, especially in like sometimes how he steps. And you were pointing out like him taking that 0 step when he's you know, moving in the run game. But I just was thinking right here, if he runs into a guy who's got tremendous speed to power right here, like what's Khalil Mack going to do to him in year one? When he's turning like this and having his feet off balance.
Oh, well,
Khalil's going to push him right into the quarterback.
The heel click right here too. There's no power from his base right here.
Yeah. So
there's no power.
The kid is still a little raw. I mean, he's not, but the amazing thing is he's got so much girth that he just absorbs these guys. So even when he's not perfect, which he does have, his footwork's not bad. It's not bad for not doing this a lot. But he just absorbs people with his girth and length that even if he doesn't, like, That's why he's going to – a lot of non-elite pass rushers, he's still going to do pretty well against them. But when he goes up against the Chandler Jones and the Khalil Macks and like the really good dudes, if he doesn't sharpen his technique up, they can abuse him.
Yeah, like even in the run game, like people think he's elite in the run game. It's more because of his power, but like his technique overall in the run game definitely needs work. Like I don't love the 0 step that was taught at least at Louisville and a lot in the college level, because it forces that big inside step. Like right here, you can see his feet crossing a little bit. So I don't love that. I like to see more of that left foot gain more ground on step, near step, zone step, whatever it is. Depending, it's really dependent on how the foot exactly moves. But those are footwork techniques that gain ground on that edge. I don't like the 0 step in the crossover that he typically has. So yeah, he'll get under a guy and toss him like he does here, and it looks like a great play. But I say it all the time: process versus results. And this didn't happen because of elite technique. So at the NFL level, I don't think this works as well as it does versus whoever they're playing right here. Looks like it might be Syracuse. Looks like Syracuse.
I can't tell from here.
Syracuse or Tennessee.
That's definitely not Tennessee.
Okay, so it's not Tennessee. So yeah, there's some things he needs to work on, but I think because of his size, I also think something that led him to being this high for me was the fact that he is working with Duke Manyweather the entire offseason. That's encouraging to me. And like I said, the pass.
Hopefully every offseason he'll do that because
him and Clark, it's nice. He's working with Terron Armstead too. So like,
yeah. And you talk about Terron Armstead was a guy who,
was top notch.
Well, I mean, like there was serious doubts of whether or not he'd be a good pro. But if you look at him, he doesn't have an elite athletic profile at all. Yeah. But he's a guy who really worked at his craft.
All right, so let's go to your 10. And I'm not really pulling up the film now.
But I want Becton to be really working out hard every offseason because just with his body type, he could really balloon up if he's not on top of himself.
Yeah.
You don't want him to get 380, 390. You can't play it that way.
Especially into his later 20s. Like we could both testify that eating a cheeseburger from McDonald's at 21 is different than eating at 28, 29,
Yeah. I don't know when's the last time I had a cheeseburger from any fast food place.
I'm a guy who I'll give myself like 2 cheat meals a week, but I'll notice that if I eat more than I'm supposed to that week, I start getting a really bad indigestion and heartburn and shit. Where like when I was 21, I could eat 14 tacos and then go to football practice and be fine,
Oh man. Jeez.
So yeah, our tradition before we went to football practice is to go to Taco Bell every single day. So there's a few times in the huddle where I was like, yo, coach, I gotta take a shit. He's like, all right, Blewett, go take a shit. Getting all mad at me, but it is what it is. So next 15.
Yeah, our coach didn't play, man. If you did something like that and you made that consistent, he might bench you for the whole week.
Well, it's either that or I shit my pants.
Like,
so, dude. So, and I'll tell the story about the academy really quickly. I told my drill instructor. So the last day you graduate the academy, you're allowed to make fun of your drill instructors and all this stuff. And my second day of the academy, you get nervous, like your stomach's all screwed up because you just did 12 hours of the hardest workout you've done in your life. I could tell stories and stories about the academy, the hell days, and driving, and you're not supposed to go anywhere in your khakis. Driving, I'm passing a Wawa, and my stomach's like starting to get warm. I'm like, like why is my stomach starting to get warm? Standing in line. I was gonna go run to the woods and take a crap. Didn't do it. Because people were like, no, don't do that. The drill instructors might see you. And then I went back in line. I stood there for like 2 minutes, and I was to the point where if I did one push-up, I was going to shit my pants. There's just absolutely no way. Like, it was diarrhea, straight diarrhea. Ran into the woods, dropped my pants, explosive diarrhea for like 30 seconds, and then ran back in line. And I
didn't wipe anything?
I didn't have anything to wipe, Kyle.
You couldn't grab leaves or something?
It was dark out. I know there's like poison ivy. I just ran into the woods. Dude, trust me, when the drill instructors are about to walk out in the academy, you're not thinking about wiping. So people are, oh my God, you couldn't wipe? Dude, it's either a chafed butt for a couple hours or I shit my pants the first setup I do. So I made the decision to go do that. And I told them that after. So I have some stories like I can't hold my stomach.
Oh.
So and I don't care that I told 1,000 people that. Who cares? The academy, dude, there's people who shit their pants in runs. Like it happens because they won't let you go to the bathroom. They don't care. Piss yourself. They couldn't care any less.
Wow.
Yeah, so that happened. Who is your 15?
I got Perriman at 15. We already spoke about him, so
okay.
I guess we don't need to.
I have Herndon at 15. So a couple, just like 2 spots higher than you. I I like what he did year one, and historically, tight ends develop a little bit slower. So for what he put out his first year, I was definitely impressed, and I think he could be a top 15 tight end. I think he could be a top 10 guy, but he still has a lot of room to grow before that. There's fans who think he's like the best, like one of the best tight ends in the NFL right now. Like there's Jets fans who are super high on him. I didn't see that on film year one. I thought he was decent, but that's about it. So upward trajectory, hopefully continues to develop. He doesn't have the reoccurring injury problems he's had, which has haunted Jets fans in the past, Dustin Keller, et cetera. But he's my 15. Who was your 14?
14, I got Nathan Shepard. Jamal Westerman would like him. I don't know if Jamal Westerman has watched him, but Nathan Shepard has a pretty good arm over.
He loves the everything. He's like, arm over. You got to arm over there. There you go. Wait, you got to arm over. Yeah, that was his big move. He likes the arm over for sure.
I'm trying to remember what his reasoning was behind it. I think he was like saying like, even if it doesn't work, you'll still be in your gap or whatever.
My problem with the consistent arm over is if you get caught in that armpit, you're getting moved.
Because
I like
exactly.
rips more than arm overs.
If a lineman can get into you and like get,
you're completely exposing yourself.
Armpit, yeah. It's not only that they'll win the rep, it's that they can then move you even into another gap, which then causes a big hole.
Yeah, you're defining that gap. In terms of like quick twitch type moves in tight confined spaces, if you're trying to think of like the arm over, like I rather do like almost more of like a punch through or a cross chop than the consistent arm over, because you don't really see necessarily a lot of arm overs in the run game. It gets a little bit risky. So I think arm overs are more for passive guys than they are for guys who are trying to get into you. So, but obviously we can differentiate on the exact moves we want a guy to do. My 14.
Yeah, Shepard's a better pass rusher than someone like Kyle Phillips, for example.
Mm-hmm.
And truthfully, pass rushing, he was also better than Quinnen Williams last year too.
Yeah. Quinnen Williams is probably too high on my list, but I'm banking on what he's going to do this year.
Yeah,
so.
I'm thinking I think that Quinnen last year he pissed me off. He's like, he made that comment where he's like, I was like, did you ever work with a pass rush specialist? Like, Chuck.
Yeah, YouTube.
What the hell's his name? Chuck Smith. And Quinnen's like, oh, yeah, just it's nothing. You got YouTube. What are you talking about, man? Like, come on. Like, you're the 3rd overall pick. Like, you got to live up to that hype. You got to constantly be – you don't – yeah, I get it that you have some good natural ability and you're already better than so many of these people, though. But, like, you're going to the big leagues now, man. You're going to be playing people who are much better. You got to find ways to refine your technique. I think he kind of realized, like, man, I fucked up.
It looks like this year he is working pretty hard in the offseason.
Yeah, I think so. So I think we'll see a big improvement just from going to year 1, year 2. And he's still a kid, man. Just look at the way he talks and the way he looks.
He's more of a baby face than I have a big baby face too, though. So
he's definitely more than you. Yeah, he still got braces, doesn't he? Yeah.
No, he got them off, which is huge news. Huge news.
Okay.
A couple weeks ago.
That I look a little meaner in the trenches now.
I should have done a little bit like a breaking news podcast about him getting his braces off. My 14 is Jordan Jenkins, which we spoke about the linebackers that you said 2 linebackers. 3. I think Jordan Jenkins is a decent, strong. When you say
linebacker, I just consider him like an edge, though.
Okay. Oh, well, sorry. No, so. Right. Yeah, he's my 14. Decent all-around player. I've done plenty of film reviews on him. He's not a bad starter. He's not a great starter. I think he's an average starter who does his job, holds his gap. He's pretty disciplined on the edge for the most part. He will have a hiccup or two. I think his pass rush has developed. There's a reason he went from like nothing to like 6.5, 7, 8 sacks the last 2 years, because I think he's a decent pass rusher. Really, really long orangutan type arms that really help him. He's developed. He definitely developed his in terms of stacking moves, where he really only had, I forget what the move was, his first year or two, and he started stacking moves together. Yeah, and I think he's a decent starter. So Jordan Jenkins is my 14. Who is your 13?
He's definitely has more nuance to his game in rushing than Basham. Like, he has a wider variety of moves, but he doesn't have the explosion that Basham has. And I think that's why Basham's a little bit more effective overall pass rushing. At least that's what I saw last year. But Jenkins is better against the run. I have Jenkins at 13.
Oh, and so you had, who was your 12? I'm sorry, I forgot.
Okay. Well, so do we both have Jenkins at 13?
I have Jenkins at 14.
Okay. I have Jenkins at 13.
I just didn't catch your 12.
Okay. I'll get to 12 in a moment, though.
No, sorry. I didn't catch your 14. I'm sorry.
Oh, Shepard. Nathan Shepard.
Hold on. I have Basham, Mims, Perriman, Shepard. Who did I miss?
I have 18 is Basham, 17 is Mims, 16 is Herndon.
I forgot Herndon. That's where I was screwed up.
15 is Perriman.
Yeah, and then Shepard, and now Jenkins. Okay.
Yeah, and like, there's a reason why Jenkins didn't sign somewhere else, right? There wasn't a huge love from any other team. You know, you're $5 million. I mean, that's a steal for the Jets. Let's be honest. We'll take him at $5 million, no doubt. But you know, for some of us that were thinking he was going to get 10 or somewhere around there, 8, 9. I think teams just looked at him like, hey, listen, this is a nice player and whatever, but he's never, ever, ever going to be an elite edge rusher. He just doesn't have that athletic profile. You will never be a great, great, great edge rusher without some baseline level athletic ability. He just doesn't have that, but he's a nice player though.
Yeah, exactly. He's a passable guy.
A good locker room guy.
For what he got, I think he's worth more than what he got. I wasn't anticipating 5. Yeah. I was anticipating like 7, 8, 9 to be honest.
And for 1 year, shoot, we'll take that.
Yeah, for sure. And you know, this term might be overused a little bit, but I think he's a legitimate good locker room type leader guy, you know.
Just said the same thing, yeah.
Quiet, does his job, you know.
And you could tell. You could tell. Just look at him like I was on his Instagram last night. He's posting a picture of him with his family.
Yeah.
You know.
And you need that stuff in the locker room. So he is your 13. He's my 14. My 13 is Marcus May. I think he's really good, but I also think that he's a little bit overrated by Jets fans in terms of he might make a flashy play or two, but I think he's beaten coverage some that people don't see on film. So
do you have any plays that you could pull up?
Oh God!
You don't have to. I just was wondering if you.
Yeah, I probably could pull up a play.
Don't worry about it.
But it would probably be from his rookie year because again, I didn't.
Yeah. Oh yeah. He had bust his rookie year and stuff.
Yeah, I'm not gonna try to pull it up.
I think he's been pretty good over the last 2 years.
Yeah, I think this is where we're getting into like, okay, now we're getting into like solid starters. Like Jordan Jenkins is like average to solid. I think Marcus May is a solid free safety. Yeah. I don't think
I like him.
People are talking about like, oh, he's one of the top safeties in the NFL, one of the top free safeties. No, but if you had you know, if we did the whole list, if he ended around, you know, in that 12 to 16 range, I wouldn't be surprised. You know, and that's where I think I. Okay.
Sorry, I'm interrupting you. My bad.
No, yeah. So I just think I have him ranked on my list at 13 as a solid player. I think he's solid. Yeah. But I think he also when Jawoll Adams was out, he struggled in the box quite a bit too.
Yeah, this is, in my opinion, I think he's going to be a good player at least for the next couple of years. His problem is he's already old. And last time I was with you, I said, especially because the things with Adams weren't as bad when I was with you 2 months ago when we did a show. And now because Adams is acting the way he is, some people are saying, oh, we got to give May a contract. And Marcus May tweet out, oh, I'm getting all this false love and stuff.
Yeah, fake love, yeah.
And I don't blame Marcus May at all for saying that. I don't blame him at all. But it's like it does make you wonder as a Jets fan now, okay, well, if the Jets do move away from Adams for whatever reason, do they pivot to giving – because you don't want to be in a position where you had 2 pretty good safeties and now you have none. So but I said last time, because I thought we were definitely going to move forward with Adams, no doubt. I don't think we'll re-sign May, because how could you justify giving two big safety contracts when you still got to pay your quarterback, and one of those safeties is 27, 28 already, Marcus May, and he's got an injury history too. I like the player, but me giving him a big contract does give me some pause.
Yeah, I agree with that. Even though we said everything we'd said about Adams, you know, he's still an elite player, and if I had to choose, obviously I'm taking Adams, and I want Adams to be signed. I hope everything, you know, gets brushed under the rug, and he apologizes to fans and his teammates and all this stuff, and continues to be a Jet. And he turns around the defense, whatever. You know, the defense is already good. Marcus May is solid, but I think if Adams is signed, he plays this year out. Maybe they sign him for another year or two with not a lot of guaranteed money, and then maybe you move on to Davis, or depending on Davis's trajectory, maybe he just takes the job over at the end of the year. But I just think that Davis has a lot more room, or a lot more growing than people think he does. Like, I'm not sure if he's even ready after year one to be that deep safety. That deep safety is a really, really important job.
And Davis isn't young either. He's 23. That's an old draft pick.
Yeah. So he's probably honestly, like, he's like him, Morgan. Like I said, there was people who were saying he should be a late first-round pick, and if he ran, he'd be a late first-round pick. I didn't see that. I don't know where people saw that. And I'm talking about respected people.
Yeah, I like Coleman. Coleman is one of those people. Let's just go out and say it. Coleman does some really good things, and I think like his assessment of Mims is by and large very good, and he has been really right with some players. But he also thought that Christian Hackenberg could be a borderline first round player.
Yeah, I don't get it. I don't get this.
So sometimes, you know, I mean, like everybody's wrong with some people or whatever, but
for sure,
sometimes Coleman can be a little out there with some things. And I think this thing listen, you compare league readiness, Marcus May versus Ashton Davis, and Marcus May was a starter from day one.
Like even the play that people brought up with him intercepting Justin Herbert, like me and Marcus watched that and we weren't very impressed with the interception versus Herbert. You know, or there's a lot of plays
because it was a terrible play by Herbert. It was a dumbass throw, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, and he wasn't even matching him as well as he should have. Like he should have been on his hip pocket, and he just got a gifted interception. You know that he just jumped in front of because of athleticism. But in terms of
it'll only get you so
the
far.
NFL is 5% athleticism. There's plenty of guys who are athletes. Look at freaking what was Odell Beckham's cousin or whatever who was trying for the Jets years and years ago. He was a freak. An absolute freak, and he didn't make it. Vernon Golston, you know, who was the guy? Sean Oakman or whatever from Oregon or Baylor or whatever.
Baylor, yeah.
Yeah, so like whatever, it is what it is. So May is my 13. Jenkins was your 13, I think. I'm getting bad with this list, but
yeah, Jenkins my 13. Yeah.
Well, I'm doing it backwards. So in my list, like you're going down, your 25 is 1 because that's just how it goes. Like
it
goes to 2. So like it's just screwing me up a little bit.
Make sure you write the number then.
Yeah. Well, I'll just flip it.
Okay.
I can figure that out, I think. So who is your 12?
You're gonna hate me, Sam Darnold, 12.
I'm fine with that. I'm not. I don't. Yeah, I know you're lower on Darnold than I am.
Than most Jets fans are.
Yeah, but I think I'm higher on him than you are in general, and I think that with what will happen in terms of his offensive line taking steps in the right direction overall, I think he's going to be a much better quarterback. And I think the times where the stats show this, that when he is protected more, he's really, really efficient. So I have more faith in Darnold than you do, but I don't think it's a terrible spot for him.
Yeah, I go so much back and forth with this kid, man. There's part of me that really wants to love him, and there's sometimes when I see some stuff on his film, I'm like, man, all right.
Man, all right.
Like, all right, that's signs of a franchise quarterback right there. And then there are other times it's like, man, bro, like what a dumbass throw.
Mm-hmm.
Man, your mechanics are dog shit sometimes. And it's like, when are you going to start improving that? If you don't, you're never going to be that elite player. And that's why, like, I just never quite got all the hype where people were saying this is the surefirest thing at quarterback since Andrew Luck or whatever. I mean, like, he was a very flawed player going out of college who had lots of upside, but
he forced a ton of throws.
But he still does is the alarming thing. And I know he does. I know he's not working with much. This is why it's so hard to evaluate. And this is why, like, I'm upset with the Jets is I don't feel like we've done enough to help the young kid.
No,
and I don't want to ruin the kid, but
just imagine last year if he's on the Bills, better protection, decent weapons.
You see how the Bills transformed their offensive line. And I think the Jets tried a similar approach this year. I don't think they did as good of a job, but when you're talking about the Bills invested much draft capital and then they signed lots of guys, we took the same approach this year. I don't know.
It's definitely positive with Douglas in terms of, it's going to be addressed. He can't fix the whole line, but we know by next year, 2021, 2022, the line's going to be pretty complete. Obviously you're going to have to tinker and change a lot of different things, backups, maybe a starter gets injured, whatever. But okay. Yeah. So he's your
he does. I'll say this doesn't mean too 12? Much. He looks like he's in a lot better shape this year. Is it just me, or I've seen other people say that too? But like, if you look at his body, he looks more ripped this year, which doesn't necessarily.
I haven't necessarily seen him in. I honestly, in everything I've seen him, it's like loose fitting clothes on the beach. So
correct, but all right. Well, you could still kind of look at like his chest and his back. He looks a little bit more ripped than I've seen in the past. I think he's been. I don't know. I think he's been working a little harder, which just. Yeah. Doesn't mean you being a ripped quarterback. Listen, what's his name? Brady Quinn or whatever. He was pretty ripped. He sucked. But it does show some sign of dedication.
Yeah. For sure. And we'll move on.
Okay, sure.
I was gonna go somewhere, but it completely blanked out. I blanked out. I wasn't gonna say it, but that's what just happened there. So he was your 12, and my 12 is Brian Poole. Again, I like Poole, but I wasn't in the camp of, oh my God, they need to sign Poole for $10 million. That's what he's going for. I love the contract they got him for, but I think he's a really good scheme fit, really aggressive corner, slot guy who can come off the edge. He's a little bit tighter, obviously, than outside boundary corner, so he's a little bit more effective. Guy who can tackle, guy who can hit, guy who played a little bit of safety this year if you actually watched. So he's versatile. And I think he had an outstanding year, but
he did everything well last year.
But I expect regression to the mean. That's the kind of person I am. Like, just like with Jason Myers, didn't want to sign him. So I think he might be really solid for the Jets again. But people think of him, like Jets fans, as a top 5 slot corner. I think this year he'd be more of an average slot corner who might make a flashy player too because he's a big hitter. And I think his ranking shows I think he's a solid slot corner, but I just expect at least some regression. Maybe not average. Maybe that's a little bit too harsh, but maybe not top 5, maybe, 8, 9, 10, 11-ish.
That's very fair. I mean, corners regress more. They fluctuate more than any other position. There was one year, Patrick Peterson, this is years ago, and he's still an elite corner. He's still a top corner, let's say that, Patrick Peterson.
Mm-hmm.
There was one year he gave up 7 touchdowns a couple of years back. So, I mean, corners fluctuate, like I said, like, you get an injury, you hurt your ankle or something like that. You're not going to be able to turn as quickly. Like it matters a whole lot.
Mm-hmm.
So it's fair to expect a bit of a regression with him. I have him higher though, because I just looked at the kid and like, he does everything pretty well.
And a lot of people with his contract, it's a lot of these contracts, they just say, oh, well, why didn't they just sign him to a multi-year deal at $5 million a year? He wouldn't have signed it. He's banking on himself to get a bigger contract. A lot of people just think, okay, well, if you just offer this money, they're going to take it. Same thing I said with Robbie Anderson. Did the Jets offer him? I don't know. Did they offer the guy who went to the Broncos, the guard? Did they offer him? Did they offer Conklin? Like, we don't know what they offered. So I'm sure that Brian Poole would just take listen, if I could take even a uptick, if I could take Poole on a 4-year, $28 million, $28 million deal, uptick of $2 million, I would do it every day. But I don't think he would do that. I think he's banking on himself next offseason, get $9-10 million ish. And I'm still in the camp that I would like to see them sign Logan Ryan, depending on for the money. And if not Logan Ryan, at least Dre Kirkpatrick or the number one guy I really want, because I think he's going to be under the radar. I like Darqueze Dennard more than other people.
Yeah, and he's a pretty good player.
Yeah, so
I kind of liked him coming out of college to Michigan State.
I loved him coming out of Michigan State. So I would like that signing. But continuing on, who is your 11?
11, I have Mcgovern, Connor Mcgovern.
Okay, hold on. Yeah, so Connor Mcgovern, 11. What do you think about his film review? I'm not sure if we talked about it we probably did actually, the wrap up, but.
Yeah, I think you maybe could say above average for center. It's quite tough when you don't watch all of them that closely.
Yeah,
it's easier to assess like a quarterback ranking because you have a good idea of how each quarterback plays. But if you're not watching every team's line play really closely, you kind of don't know exactly how to rank the centers. But I mean, at worst, he's an average center, and like we just said before, for interior offensive line, if you're even average or close to it, that's pretty good. Solid player, man. I mean, he does struggle a little bit when he gets to the second level. He gets high and then people toss him around. But he's really solid in pass pro.
Yeah.
It's crazy that I even have to say this, but he snaps the ball well.
He doesn't get penalties. Oh, does he have to? I don't think he didn't get a lot of penalties. I know that's a big theme of
I think
offseason. He didn't get a lot of penalties.
Yeah, he didn't get a lot of penalties. But he's solid though. And he's good in the interior stuff. And there's also something to be said when you're a smart center who is aware of, when you're sliding this way, where everybody needs to be and such, because you're a communicator there and you're in the middle, you're able to identify who the mic is and stuff. So that's important. So I think that, I think he's a solid player. And
I think centers are largely overlooked position by fans. We're talking about offensive line. I think tackle, 1 and 2, and then the third most important position is center.
And we were texting about this too, especially in a zone scheme, which Gase is more of a zone player.
Mm-hmm.
Center play is really important, especially when it comes to so you got a nose who's shaded to one side of you. If you're not getting any help from the guard, because the guard has to get to the second level or whatever. If you have to reach that guy, it's really tough to do that sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can get a guy who can do that on a consistent basis, like, man, that really helps out. Because if your center is getting dominated and you have the noses in the backfield, several yards in the backfield, that's going to screw up the whole play.
Yeah, no, I agree. My 11 is Crowder. Like Crowder, again, I think he's a really solid slot, top 12-ish type slot in the league. Athletically, he's not overly appealing, but I think he catches the ball well. He runs his routes well. I think he can find the soft spot in zones really well. You saw the Jets really utilize that jerk route this year with him, and that's why he had like 47 catches in the first Bills game. Like 47 catches for 99 yards, whatever it was. So I like Crowder a lot. And I think this is a fair spot for him at 11.
Yeah, sure. I have him in a similar spot. Yeah, I like him. I always liked him.
Who is your 10? It's starting rounding out the top 10. Here we
10,
go.
I have Marcus May. I said a lot about him. I'll just say one other thing. His tackling versus Ashton Davis is night and day.
He's a good tackler.
He's a really good tackler. He has like really good form. Like you can almost say like teach tape form tackling. The way the angles that he takes and how he drives through, like he's not as good of a tackler as Jawoll Adams because he's just not like as explosive and doesn't read things as well and anticipate things as well. But his form that he shows when he tackles is better than
I've
Jawoll
heard
Adams.
some Jets fans criticizing Jawoll Adams, saying he's like a box if he doesn't move well. If you watch Jawoll Adams, he's explosive as hell. He is ridiculous. Man. He's ridiculous athleticism.
I know his 40 at his pro day was like much better than the combat, but you wouldn't see, he ran like a 4.56 at the combat. Like what? Like do you see how quick this dude moves?
He plays like 4.4, man. He's quick.
Yeah, man. Like maybe even like 4.3. Like it's and a lot of it is just like he's just got such good instincts.
Yeah.
And you cannot teach instincts. You just can't.
My 10, Darnold. I have Darnold at 10. So a couple.
I had him
spots,
at 10 last year.
Yeah, you had him at 12 this time. So a couple spots higher. Like I said, just with the offensive line, when he is protected, I'm impressed. So I think going from, let's say, the 31st best offensive line in the league, or the 31st worst, I should say, he going from that to, let's say, 22, 23, 24, I think is a huge upgrade. So I think him with more time is going to be a much different quarterback, and he won't panic as much and just chuck the ball up. Hopefully he learns to throw the ball away a little bit more. I think his footwork is what it is at this point, but his footwork will hurt him for sure. The stepping in the bucket type mechanics that he has, not activating his full body. And it was so funny. Did you see the video of him throwing on the beach the other day?
Yeah, I did.
Some people were like, oh, man, his footwork's so much better. His first throw in that video, he stepped in the bucket. He didn't drive towards the target. I wanted to comment back, no.
And he's not reading a defense while he's dropping back.
Yeah, so
part of the reason people's mechanics get screwed up is they're reading a defense and they're scared whether or not they're going to get hit and stuff.
Yeah, when shit hits the fan, they just go back. But like people are, oh my god, his footwork, his foot literally just didn't even drive anywhere forward. It was completely to the side. I want to comment, be like, dude, do you have any idea what mechanics you're talking about? Like, what do you mean? So yeah, he's my 10. Like I said, I still think he could be that top 10 quarterback. I think this year he gets from the conversation people are questioning if he's a long-term starter to okay, yeah, he's a long-term starter and he's about a little above average, like in that 12 to 15, 10 to 15 type range this year. And I think he continues.
It's interesting you're not as bullish on him this year as you were going into last year. Like I remember asking you last year when we did this show, do you think he could potentially be like, what do you think he could be, at the end of the season? You said he could potentially slip into the top 10 by the end of the season.
So I'm saying that again. I just said he could be that top 10 to 15 type range. I still think he could be that, but the thing that
he does have that ability. Yeah.
The people who think are criticizing Darnold, which I get the criticism. He's still younger than Joe Burrow. Like he passed on that junior, senior year, whatever years of being at USC to learn. So he's coming in a little bit more raw than guys.
He's a redshirt sophomore.
So I think with the second year in the system, with a better offensive line, with maybe even more with better weapons in general, you have Herndon coming back, which is a big deal. I would take me personally. I would take Perriman and Mims over Anderson and Demaryius Thomas that he had a lot of last year. I think everybody would, to be honest. So I think he has better weapons around him, both at receiver, at tight end. Running back, I think is about the same. I think Montgomery was underutilized.
Yeah, he was.
Better offensive line, So I think 10's a fair spot. Who is your 9?
Let me just comment real quick. The
Mm-hmm.
thing with Darnold is like, and it's Darnold, so I think we could spend a little extra time. Like, even late in the season, like he's still like his ability to read defenses. He did leave too many open guys last year, or was too late with certain throws too many times last year. And it's like, but man, by the end of your second season, you don't want to see this.
Yeah, and there's certain games that I want to see him to like. And I know he has a bad team. There's certain games I wanted. And sorry to interrupt you. There's certain games I wanted him to take that next step. Like I want to see more of those Dallas and Oakland games where he was playing like the Bengals and was struggling, or the Dolphins, or the Steelers, or which the Steelers have a good defense, but the backup Bills.
He actually played better in that Bengals game than people think.
Yes. People thought he played terribly, but I still want to see him even step above that. Like I want to see more of those late Texans, the Texans game, the Packers game, the Cowboys game, and I just thought that there's some times where he plays down to the competition a little bit too much, and I would like to see him take strides forward and really dominate those games instead of kind of just barely squeaking it out.
Yeah. I really hope they use him on play action more. I like him off play action. I think people should use play action across the league more in general. But I like how he sells the play action fake good. And like I like, sometimes when you do a play action fake, you got to kind of throw quickly out of it. And I like him when he has to, rather than him, going through
release.
Second and third read. Yeah, just get him something where he's got to throw quickly and stuff. Even like RPOs, like he throws really quickly off those, like the way he can reset after the play fake.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, quick.
I don't know. Gase does need to do more to help the kid out, man.
Yeah, quick foot reset, quick trigger on the throw, I think. And there's some throws that he made that like last year, and everybody talks about it. The throw versus Baltimore. You really don't get a tighter window than that in the NFL. You just don't.
Yeah.
So he can
those are the things that are like, okay, this is why some people
I think in terms of his balls, he needs to throw deep balls more consistently for sure. He misses too many deep balls.
And that's been the knock on him, since coming out of college. He was never a good deep, and I don't think he ever will be. Although sometimes he does have really nice, think about Robbie Anderson in the Broncos, that one throw to the sideline.
Yeah, or even the Colts, the game I'm about to put up against Desir, because I watched Desir 2018 most of the games, and he puts the ball in the best possible spot, but Anderson drops it. But there's too much of that step in the bucket mechanics that I talk about where, 8 out of 10 throws will be great, but then that 9th and 10th throw, it's lacking because those mechanics will come back to hurt you at times, and his footwork's not going to just improve. I don't think it's going to improve at this point. Your footwork's kind of is like footwork and accuracy are things you don't really fix a lot. I don't see fix a lot out of college from the NFL. So
yeah, he's never going to be. He's certainly never going to be a great deep ball thrower, although he could. There is room for improvement there, but yeah, and we need to see more of his improvisational skills too, a la Russell Wilson and Patrick Mahomes, because he does have some of that. And when those are some of his best plays, and we saw some of that again against Baltimore. So I hope we see more of that this year. He's got to kind of trust himself on that, though.
Yeah,
but I think his confidence was shaken. I think his confidence was shaken towards the end of the year. Go ahead.
Yeah, more trusting offensive line will lead to, I think, better footwork and things like that too. So
okay, I guess we can fly through some of the next ones. Go ahead.
No, I'm not necessarily in a rush.
Sorry, I thought I.
No, we're good. You had May at 10. You had May at 10, right? Or 9?
Correct. You're correct.
Okay, so who is your 9 then?
Quinnen Williams.
I matched your spot exactly.
Oh, cool.
Quinnen Williams. So, and again, Michael Nani has all the stats of this guy. He was stunting and he was the picker, the penetrator, whatever you want to call it, on a lot of these stunts. So he was eating up 2 bodies. Now, with that, there's some, that was his role, so he performed it. But at the same time, if he was impressing so much in practice, would that be his role? Probably not. So I think he developed, he's a young guy who had amazing technique in college. Amazing. Like his technique was ridiculous. It was lacking a little bit in terms of like his transition with his technique from the college level to the NFL level. But again, like you said, he is super freaking young. And we could pull up the stats of Geno Atkins and Donald and all these guys in their first year all had like 2 sacks too. So I think it's a really hard position to learn, going from college offensive lineman to NFL offensive lineman. You have to be absolutely perfect on a lot of these plays. So I think he's going to take a step up to be like a really, really solid interior defensive lineman. I don't think he's going to be like a pro bowler quite yet this year. Maybe he is. But he's going to take definite strides in the direction that we thought he would, getting drafted out of Bama. I still stand behind the pick. I still think he's going to be a really good player.
Yeah, I think you'll see a significant improvement. I do question, though, if he'll – after watching that first season, I question if he'll ever get to the level that I thought he would be at.
I was not going to be a top 5 defensive lineman in the league, like interior.
Yeah, he's not an elite athlete. So whereas versus someone like Aaron Donald, which some people made that comp, from day one was an elite athlete, running a 4.6, whatever he ran at, 285 pounds. So he's not that, and you wonder why did his technique go to the trash last year? Maybe it was just because
he lost his balance a lot. I felt like
he's on the dirt way too much.
I felt like in Bama he used that soft stance a lot in red guys, where this year, because he was the picker and the penetrator, he was forced to be a little bit more aggressive to set up those loops. So he almost looked like he was out in front of his feet a little bit too much this year, where in college he was afforded the opportunity to be a little bit more patient. So I feel like that was a major problem. But like you,
I think he's
agree.
thinking too. I think he had to think too much last year. And when you think too much, sometimes your technique goes to crap.
Yeah, but I think 9 is plenty high. Like that's a big jump from like last year. He probably would finish like 21st, 22nd, 23rd on the roster. I think we're both thinking he's gonna take a huge jump. So
yeah. If you watch the Eagles game, he had a bad game against the Eagles. Man, he was on the dirt a lot. He got buried a lot.
Yeah. So. Moving on to your 8th, we both had the same 9th player in Quinn Williams. Who is your 8th overall player?
I got Marcus May there. Oh wait, no, sorry. I'm looking at from last year. Sorry, give me 8. I have Jamison Crowder.
Okay, so a couple spots higher than I did.
Yep. We spoke about him. I don't know if we need to say anything else.
Yeah, no. My 8 is Mcgovern. I think he's right around that top 10 range. And I think that's where we're getting with these type of guys who are really, really solid players. I like Mcgovern a lot. Like I said, 10, 11, 12, 9, 8, whatever. Like I'd have to watch all the other guys, but solid technically, doesn't get penalties, is a smart player like we spoke about, is athletic, has some decent power. I think he will struggle with guys who are massive, like the Michael Pierces and et cetera of the world. But overall, I think a really well-rounded player, a master of none type deal, but overall really solid type player. So he's
good fit in the offense too. Good fit in the offense
for sure. Yeah, zone. Yeah, especially inside zone. I'd say he's more inside zone than outside zone. Outside zone, you're forced to move obviously more, where he can move, but he's not like. Who was that? Garrett Bradbury coming out of college, like where he's an elite type athlete. I don't know how he really did necessarily with the Vikings. I don't think they were
supposedly he was bad last year,
which to be honest, if he misses, he misses. But I was really high on him. Like I said, you're gonna have misses.
Yeah,
so moving to your 7th player,
I got Fadu Kasi there.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
You don't have him there.
Not yet. No, he's not there yet. So a little bit of scratch of the beard. All right. So yeah, he's not there. I like him. He was a freaking bulldozer last year. Like he was legit one of the best run stuffer type nose tackles in the league last year. And it was his second year. So you're figuring he continues to improve. If he keeps improving, man, he's going to be like Snacks Harrison type effectiveness player. And I think like there was already plays last year where he was blowing centers up 4 yards into the backfield and completely like the running back would literally run into his center's ass, like Mark Sanchez type stuff. Like he was a monster last year. So he's a little bit higher for me. My 7 is Avery Williamson. And I moved him around a lot because this is about health.
The uncertainty,
health.
That's fair.
We both like Williamson a lot more than Jets fans, I think, overall like him.
I can't understand why fans wanted to cut him for whatever savings you'd get.
For $7 million, I mean, they already have money, but it's like because you heard him coming out of Tennessee, he's not a great coverage guy. Listen, he's a lot better than Burgess at coverage. He's a lot better than Hewitt. He's a lot better than Cashman. He's a decent coverage guy, and he is a monster in the run game. He's really, really
Cashman sucked it last year, man. I'm sorry.
Yeah, he
fucking blew, man.
Yeah, he did. He sucked. And he would make like 3 plays in the preseason and be like, oh my God, look how good he is. It's like, no, whatever. But Yeah, Williamson's my 7. Again, this is all based on health.
How funny is that whole stat? Like how he never missed a tackle like his senior year of college. This dude missed tackles all the time.
I showed on film, and they literally like 0 missed tackles, and there's like 4 plays in a row he missed tackle
last year. Yeah,
and I was like, how do you not consider this a missed tackle? Like he literally completely missed a tackle. Like there's no ends or if, ends, or buts about it. I was like, what the hell's going on? So, but Avery Williamson's my 7. Who is your 6? You just had Crowder. You just said Crowder before, right?
I said Crowder for 8. And I just want to say about Fatukasi.
Oh, who was your 7? I'm blanking out.
Fatukasi's 7.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to say, like, with him, he could even be a better run defender as he gets more technique and stuff. And, man, if he ever got to Snacks level, like, man, that would be such a steal for us to get him as late as we did and for him to be that good of a player. But just, for any Jets fans who might not know, he's never going to be a good pass rusher. It's just not his game, and it's not his athletic profile. He's a 5'3" guy. He's never going to be a good pass rusher, but you can count on him to consistently destroy the guy in front of him.
Yeah, he's a monster.
He just has a lot of power, but he just doesn't have like extreme explosiveness.
Yeah. And touching on Avery Williamson too, kind of the same thing. Like I was so like, no, not heartbroken because it didn't get traded yet or anything like released, but people are like, oh, just cut him. I think he offers so much in the run game. Like he is a monster. Like just absolutely destroy. Like he's 240 pounds, and he destroys 300-pound guys. Just destroys them.
And there's such a contrast in style between him and Mosley, which is what you want, because then you can use both of them for their unique things. Okay, this guy, you send this guy in a blitz, he's gonna fuck shit up, blowing this guy up.
Mosley's not a good blitzer. That's his biggest weakness. He's not a good blitzer.
Absolutely. So to have 2 guys who you have them both on the field at pretty much all times, but then they have different things that they're good at, gives you versatility.
Yeah.
So people wanting to cut him and people down on Mosley, that sucks so, man. It's interesting that without having those 2 guys all year, the run defense is still as good as they were.
League.
Wow.
So like I think this is the thing with Adams. Like Adams offers the most in the run game, pass rush. Like the pass rush would be a big thing we lose, but I think that having Mosley and Williamson back is a bigger impact than Jawoll Adams as a singular player. So I think the run defense, even if Adams is gone, will be better this year. And that's not even including Kyle Phillips' development, Terrell Basham, Nathan Shepard, Fatukasi. Like these guys are
and then year 2 in Greg Williams' system too.
Yeah, who are developing. I hope Greg Williams is signed to a multi-year deal. Like I hope he doesn't burn out here like he does other places, because he was good, man. But
did Greg Williams really burn out in other places? Listen, Greg Williams for the coach that he was with most in recent years was Jeff Fisher. Is that more of an indictment of Fisher or Greg Williams? Come on. We already know.
Can we talk about coaches real quick? This is something I want to mention.
Sure.
A lot of people are with the Cam Newton thing. Oh, I don't know how he fits in the Patriots system. They're not going to run the same system. They're not going to do that. I am afraid of them running RPOs and stuff with Cam Newton. Like I'm afraid of what they with what I'm blanking on the offensive coordinator's name is. What
Josh McDaniels.
What McDaniels can do and Bill Belichick can do with a guy who can run the ball. Like it is going to be scary if he's healthy.
And that's the amazing thing about Belichick. He's been coaching for so long, but he always adapts. He always adapts to trends. So that's what makes him so good. So like, okay, yeah, they ran this Erhardt-Perkins system with Brady for 20-something years. Well, you had the same quarterback who had a certain skill set. Now you got a completely different guy with a different skill set. You can rest assured there will be some of those other things in there, but it's going to be to a large degree different.
They're going to destroy people with RPOs. I just really think so.
I don't wish for a player to get injured, but I guess it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world for us if Cam Newton continued getting injured.
Yeah. Okay. Moving on though. I forget what your point was before. If you were talking about something and I interrupted you like I always do. But
the Patriots, how do we get coaches?
Greg Williams.
You're talking about coaches. Yeah, Greg Williams. Yeah. If I really, I don't see why this guy shouldn't be a serious contender for a future head coach job for the Jets.
100%.
I think players really do like Greg Williams, and that just because he was involved. Listen, Sean Payton is just as guilty in Bountygate because he's the head coach, and you're the head coach. You have the ability to stop anything. What you say goes. You could literally fire somebody.
Yeah.
On your coaching staff. Sean Payton is revered around the league now. Yeah, he had the black stain and stuff, but he's so popular now. He's got his own Twitter account and people are retweeting him and stuff. why is Greg Williams this like outcast?
Yeah.
Because of Bountygate over a decade ago.
Let's say, which I don't want to happen because it means an unsuccessful year for the Jets and Darnold, most likely, but Gase is fired. I would be 100% fine with Greg Williams being promoted, and then bringing in, firing Loggins and bringing in a, Todd Monken or what's the guy's name from Iowa State? I don't think he's got hired as a coach yet, but I know he was a hot commodity a couple of years ago.
I forget his name, but yeah, I know who you're talking about.
I was really high on Todd Monken, like bringing him, let him run your offense and let Greg Williams run your defense. Like, I'm fine with that. But again, obviously I'm hoping for Gase to work out, which I don't think that's a large discussion. We could have a different time.
Yeah. So, I'm not overly optimistic, but I'm not as down as most Jets fans are.
A lot of the Gase stuff comes from the behind the scenes locker room type shit that he struggles with. So, who is your number 6?
6, Brian Poole.
Wow.
I love the kid, man. And the more I watched him, I was like, man, this kid is really good. I remember texting you and Scotty one day, and I was like, man, how the hell did we get this guy for $5 million?
Yeah.
I do not see why another team didn't even give him like a 1-year deal worth like 8 or 9 or something.
That's why I thought he was going to get around 10. I really did. So when they signed him, I was shocked. Like him and Jenkins, I was shocked at their contracts.
Like he really did. I'm not saying over his entire career. I didn't like him. When I watched his Atlanta film, I was not high on him.
Super consistent in Atlanta. He's
like a player like him and Marcus May are 2 players that, I really – once they got on the Jets, they changed my perspective a lot on them. I did not like Marcus May coming out of Florida. Same thing with Brian Poole coming from Atlanta. I thought he was a dumb player who made too many mental mistakes. But I didn't see that last year. And I just saw a player who did everything well. You ask him to man up a shifty slot receiver in the slot, and he's staying in his hip pocket the whole way through. You ask him to blitz, he'll get a freaking sack, and he's going to freaking bury the quarterback.
If there was the thing I remember, because we've been talking for years, I remember talking about Marcus May, and you didn't feel like he could be a deep safety. And I remember trying to convince you that I thought he could be a deep guy. That's what I remember, that you didn't like him out of Florida. Well, I mean, obviously I've learned more since then, but maybe it was a fact of me just not having a lot of film. Listen, there was like 3 games draft breakdown, broadcast angle for safeties.
Broadcasting. How are you going to evaluate a safety broadcast angle? But I didn't see a very smart safety on tape in those 3 games or whatever it is that I watched. I didn't see a great tackling safety. I mean, I remember that Zay Jones juked the shit out of him in one of those games.
Zay Jones.
I wasn't impressed with him at all. And I mean, I just didn't have I got to be honest. I'm not a guy who watches college football every Saturday. I don't. So I don't really start watching college football until it's draft time. So with the limited amount I had, I didn't see much that impressed me. But from year 1 with the Jets, I was, presently what's the word I'm looking for?
Pleasantly?
I was pleasantly impressed.
I was presently impressed. Yeah. Okay, so this is going to shock. I think this is going to be the biggest shock of the whole show. And I think this is a guy who completely slipped your mind. You did not think about it, but I think this is going to be a guy who's going to be a near Pro Bowler this year who you don't even have on your list. My number 6 is Braden Mann, is my number 6 overall player. So I think in terms of his like how good he is at his position, I think he's going to be a top 10 punter, maybe top 5 punter year 1. We talked about it. Kicking a ball is kicking a ball, and if anything, the stuff that happened in college where it was, out kicking your coverage, guys in the NFL, you're not going to be able to out kick them as easily, So I think he's a really effective punter, and I think he's going to be a near Pro Bowler in year 1, and I think he's going to be a guy who's going to be, top 5 punter consistently for years to come because he was that good in college. And like I said, kicking a ball is kicking a ball. He's my number 6 overall player and a guy who you outrageously disrespected and even put on your list, which is embarrassing, Kyle.
Sure, that's fair. I won't clown you for putting a pun in your list, although I'm sure many of your viewers will.
I don't care. He's a good punter, man.
But yeah, punting is underrated, and sometimes I wonder why teams are so quick to not want to give a special teams player a bigger contract, yet they're willing to give some guy who you don't know if he's going to be a good scheme fit transition.
Clearly make a big impact. Like if they didn't have Vedvik last year, did they win the Bills game? Yes.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. That piece of shit.
Yeah. So, and by the way, who is the Jets kicker right now? Brett Meyer or whatever the hell his name is from the Cowboys, who shanked like 30% of his kicks last year.
Ficken's not very good either.
No.
Yeah, so I don't know, man. But I will say, I'm just thinking about punting for a moment. Like, what's the difference between getting a touchback sucks, but if you get a guy who can pin you in the 5, think about how many safeties there have been in Jets games, both us getting them and us on the receiving end of them. And those safeties don't happen unless you're pinned up.
Yep.
In your own end zone. So if you can get a punter who can consistently put people in that position,
and it shuts down like half of your playbook. Being
you're no longer running long developing stuff down,
and you're not running play action.
You got to get the ball. You got to get the ball quick.
But that's ballsy.
Yeah, you could. It's ballsy. And man, remember when frickin' Victor Cruz went 99 yards on us in 2011?
Yep. Oh, I remember. I do remember.
Antonio Cromartie talking shit. That dude can't tackle. He can't tackle.
By the way, Cromartie recently he's not a favorable ex-Jet now. Like, he talks a lot of shit on Twitter about the Jets.
The Jets gave him 2 contracts and they traded for him when he was a total outcast in San Diego. And after he left the Jets and went to the Colts, he was a total shell of his former self.
Yeah, and he quit. He completely quit against Sean Green on that play where he just completely bitched out on that playoff game. But whatever, he's not liked by Jets fans right now. But number 6 is Braden Mann for me. Okay,
that's cool.
Getting into the top 5. Let's say you had to redo your list, where is Mann falling? If you had to consider how good he's going to be. Top 10.
I guess I automatically I don't know. I put him in the list though. That's for sure.
Don't disrespect my man. I get it. Okay. Top 5. Go ahead. 5.
Steve McClendon.
All right.
Dude, he's just good, man. He's just still good. And he gets pressure on the quarterback in the pass game. Fatukasi doesn't do that. And he's, in the run game, man, he doesn't get beat. You just don't beat him in the run game, man.
I think this is my number one
doubles, hit. He'll split doubles. I mean, just the dude is immovable.
Yeah, this is one of my biggest hits in terms of him coming to Jets and me being like, I think he is a really, really good, and people didn't even think twice about him. He's been an elite guy in the run game for years, and he's disrespected. He's not a guy who's gonna get sacks and all those things and stuff the stat sheet, but he is so freaking good, man. He's just everything about him. He's a really, really legit player, and probably since I've been watching the Jets, probably the number 1 best guy in the locker room I've ever seen. In my opinion, is McClendon, which makes a big impact.
You could argue best guy in the locker room over recent years and best guy in the field. If you take up the totality of what he's done every year.
Yeah. Yeah. So
it's sad that, he hasn't gotten paid more money throughout his career because he certainly deserves it. And it's like teams keep banking on the fact that he's going to have a drop off.
But he hasn't yet, man.
He hasn't yet, though.
Yeah. So my number 5 is Fatukasi, who you had a couple of spots lower.
Yeah, 7.
Yeah, 7. So I had him at 5 for all the reasons we said. He's a monster, and especially anticipating progression from him, getting farther into his NFL career. I think he's going to be an elite run stuffer this year. So who is your number 4? We already spoke on Fatukasi. You don't have to hit on him a lot more.
Avery Williamson, man. I really do like Avery Williamson's game.
Yeah, we're big Avery Williamson stands here for sure.
Yep. So, and we already spoke about what he brings to the team. And yeah, just not only is he a good blitzer, and we hope to see more of that this year, but just the way he takes on fullbacks in the run game or pulling guards.
Ultra aggressive. He only tore his ACL, right? Like, that's something that you can come back from nowadays,
Yeah. Oh yeah. ACL surgeries versus Terrell Davis never came back from his ACL surgery, but you're talking about like 20 years ago. How those surgeries have progressed over, a couple decades.
Ever since AP, it really became like just another injury.
You'd certainly rather someone have like an ACL rather than like
Achilles tear.
Or
Liz Frank.
Liz Frank. That's exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Or even I guess even more than a torn ankle too.
Torn ankle, yeah, that's rough, man. Anything tears, like me and Marcus talk about this. I rather have a broken bone than a tear. Tears they don't heal, like they just don't.
Yeah.
So okay, who was your number 4?
Avery Williamson.
Oh, see, like I said, 2 hours. I warned you. My number 4 is McClendon. For the same reasons you said, I had him one spot higher. He's elite. He just is. We're big, again, Avery Williamson, McClendon, that's probably the guys we're the highest on more than, versus anybody else in Jets Twitter, I would say.
And it's just interesting. If they had bigger contracts, people would be higher on them. It's interesting how sometimes people just attribute like whatever their value dollar is to how good a player is.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Okay, top 3. We're going to have the same 3 guys, but in which order?
I think we'll have the same exact order. I'm guessing.
I think so as well.
Why don't you go first since I've been going first for the past?
Okay, my 3 is Le'Veon Bell.
Okay.
So it's not the same order as you.
No, it's not.
Okay. Yeah, I could tell you were like, oh. So, and this is such a hard one to do because I think if he had a better offensive line last year, he might have been too, but it's kind of hard to not let that creep into your mind a little bit. But I said it from the jump. When he was signed, I liked the signing, and some people don't. Okay, you're wasting money on a running back, but I thought for Darnold and his young point of his career, having a guy like him who can hand the ball off to is really important. But for a guy who is so as patient as he is, playing behind a bad offensive line is really not conducive to him being effective, which is true for most running backs, but especially for Bell, a guy who is really patient. Especially
that it needs to be emphasized so much
because he is one of the, if not the most patient running back I've ever seen. And for him to have to wait for that hole to open up for the Jets, listen, if a hole opens for the Jets, you're already lucky. You got to hit that shit real quick. Like you got to be a one-cut type runner to be on the Jets, like Chris Ivory. That's why he was effective when the Jets didn't have, those good offensive lines, or even Blau Powell, who is a one-cut type guy. But Bell, he struggled because of the offensive line. A lot of people, he's not what he was. I think that if the Jets, which it will improve, I think he could still play like he was with Pittsburgh. Maybe a step down, maybe not elite, but still top 5 range in the NFL. I think he's that good.
Yeah, and I just want to maybe explain that a little bit more to maybe someone who might not quite understand why it's such a big difference. Just think about it like this. Okay, so obviously momentum matters a lot in football. Just watch how Le'Veon Bell ran at the beginning of last year and in Pittsburgh. There are times when literally he's got both of his feet not moving forward. Like literally they'll be parallel, not moving forward while he's assessing where the hole is going to be. You have no momentum there. All right. Even if he's a strong dude, he's 220 something pounds, strong dude, but you have no momentum there. You're not falling forward. If you have guys in the backfield and you have your feet like that and you're not moving forward, you're obviously not going to get a lot of yards rather than if you just barrel through. Now in Pittsburgh, eventually holes did open up. So even though he didn't have momentum, once the hole did open up, shoot through it. Mm-hmm. But last year, nothing's opening up. You have no momentum. Now you're not even getting back to the line of scrimmage. Sometimes you're falling for negative yards, or you're barely getting back to the line of scrimmage. So with his style, it mattered so much more. And one thing that I said last time we were on the show with you is eventually he just kind of realized, this is never changing. This line is not getting better. They suck. They're not going to get better all year until we get some new guys. And he just changed his running style. And he was a little bit more effective late in the year. And eventually he just started hitting whatever hole wasn't there, but at least he wasn't getting as much negative yards, or he was at least getting some positive yards.
A lot of those plays where it was negative 1 yard losses, he was turning into a 1 yard gain because he was just putting his head down. And when he gets his legs short, and he's a powerful, he's an all around guy. He's just not a guy who could break the top off the defense, but he is so well rounded.
Yeah, but just look at his game. I mean, it's hard to look at his game last year and really knock him. Okay, where did he mess up here?
Yeah.
And I barely saw that. He had one big drop. I think it might have been in the Bengals game. Maybe. Maybe it wasn't in the Bengals game.
At that point, Kyle, we were talking about me drinking. At that point in the season, I was drinking a lot. I don't remember a lot. I remember the games. I wasn't that drunk, but I don't at the same time.
Yeah. I mean, there was one where he was running I think it was a slant, and it would have been a first down, and it hit him right in both of his hands. He should have caught it. He's a good great receiving back. But other than that, I can't think of Le'Veon hit the wrong hole here. Or, I mean, he was hurdling people. He was catching balls well. He was breaking tackles. I mean, think about the Bills game. 4th down, he's dragging people. He caught that 2-point conversion caught the 2-point conversion in the end zone right over the person. I mean, he's laying dudes out in pass protection, not complaining all year. The dude's a really good player still. I have him at 2.
Yeah, I unfortunately, I think I literally took everything off my computer and deleted it from 2018 because I just didn't want to see it. Okay. So it is what it is. But and I think that he could move up to number 2 for me. And maybe he should have been number 2 because the guy who's at number 2 for me, who was probably number 3 for you, had an injury, had a tear. That's concerning to me because I've torn my groin. He tore his groin. So your number 3 was Mosley. My number 2 is Mosley. I think that Mosley, when healthy, literally just the Bills game you see his impact. And this is why, and we spoke about it a lot, I think that middle linebacker position is underrated by fans. The brain of that defense is a lot more important. Getting guys lined up in position is a lot of the game. So a lot of people always on a corner. I think it's a premier position. And you saw the Jets shut up the Bills and let up 19 points in a quarter or whatever because he was out of the game.
Yeah, the Josh Allen, man.
And there was guys who were literally coming out and saying that they struggled when he was out, and they couldn't adjust because he was out. So I think when he's healthy, I think you can argue for him. I don't think he's as good as Bobby Wagner. I think Wagner is number one easily. But now that Kuechly's gone, I think he's number two. You could argue 2, 3, 4. I don't know exactly who you'd have up there, but I think you can make an argument for him being the second best inside linebacker in the NFL.
Sure.
And at this point, I think just having him, let's say at 2 or 3, I think Bell is more of like that 4 to 5 range right now. If obviously if things break well, because he's getting a little older, he does have a lot of, not a lot of tread on the tires left because of how many carries he had. So I'm just projecting for the future. I think Mosley will be better than Bell this year, even though at Bell's peak, he was a better player than Mosley. But I think Mosley, if healthy, has a lot more to offer. Because the problem with the running back position, why it's devalued, is it really largely does depend on your offensive line. And you saw that with Bell. Bell is an elite running back, bad offensive line, which, like you said, is really important, especially for him. You have a bad offensive line, you're not going anywhere. Doesn't matter if you're Barkley, doesn't matter if you're Zeke, doesn't matter if you're Curtis Martin. There's not a lot you could do, So it's a largely dependent position. I think the Jets' offensive line will be below average to average this year. So I think you'll see a lot better of a Bell, but I think it's not going to be as much of an impact as a healthy Mosley, if that makes sense. So that's why Mosley is 2 for me.
And even if you see Le'Veon Bell put up the production like we've seen previously in his career, where he gets 500 plus receiving yards, maybe somewhere like 600, 700, and he has like 1,100, 1,200 yards rushing and, 10 plus touchdowns in total. Even if he puts up that type of production, I wouldn't be shocked to see him not back in the Jets uniform the following year. Just for the simple fact that if they keep Case likes running back by committee, doesn't want that much money invested in one dude with the running back position, which, let's be honest, is probably one of the least valuable positions on the entire field. So,
I think if you had to have one, I think it's probably the least valuable position in the NFL, running back.
Yeah, if you take out special teams.
Yeah, because I just considering like guards are really important. We see how much of an impact Quentin Nelson makes. Center we talked about, tackle, corner, safeties, super important.
Yeah,
receiver,
I agree.
I would say it's most
And just think about how many late round guys can come in and have an immediate impact from the rookie year.
Well, we saw guys like DeMarco Murray behind who was not a great player, or who was the guy? Was it McFadden who was there? It was even really effective in the Cowboys after the Raiders. He was not a great player. So you put. He
didn't do that good with the Cowboys, even though they had a good line.
But you put a decent running back, like let's say, a guy who's even below, who's an average backup or a good backup type player. Like imagine Bilal Powell behind that Cowboys line.
Oh yeah, line makes so much more of a difference in the running game than a running back does. Let's just be honest.
Yeah,
it is the least valuable traditional or mainstream position in the NFL.
I think that Mosley will make a bigger impact than Bell, and that's why he was above him.
Okay, that I have no disagreements there.
Number 1, Sam Ficken. So yeah, 1 is Adams. He's the best safety in the NFL. He is probably a top 5 defensive player in the league. I think you can argue. We'd have to really go through a list, but
Aaron Donald's definitely better.
I think Khalil Mack. Yeah, I would take Gilmore over Adams. Maybe even
not at this point.
I'm talking like for a year. I'm talking like right now. I for future, yeah, Gilmore's older. Probably Ramsey over him.
I don't. No. Man, what is the obsession with Ramsey? Like, I get it. He's got some really good natural skills and stuff, but he's not. I mean, like DeAndre Hopkins made him look really bad many of the times they went up against one another. And Ramsey was getting beat even too when he went to the Rams.
So who else do you think? I think you can argue.
He's a good player. He's one of the best corners in the league, but I don't see him as being that elite.
I would say Wagner. Like, I'm not talking about long term. I'm talking like now. Like, these are all guys who are like the top positions. I think Chandler Jones.
Maybe Chris Jones too from the Chiefs.
I think Chris Jones is good pass rusher. I've seen him get tossed around a lot in the run game.
Really?
I'm not as high on Chris Jones. He gets tossed around a lot in the run game, a lot more than people think he does.
Okay.
So I wouldn't put him above him. Wagner is, you can argue, other safeties. I don't think there's a safety who's better than him. Maybe Derwin James if he's healthy, but that's about it. Corner we talked about. So, like, yeah, he's top 5, you know. So I think a top 5 defense player in the league is definitely the best player in the Jets right now. But I think Mosley is one of the top 5, maybe 3 inside linebackers. We're talking about in general top 5 right now. And I think Adams is right up there. I think that the guys that you seem to only be definitely higher on right now is what you said. You said Donald and Mack. Other than that, you didn't seem really too convinced.
I might want to say Chandler Jones too. It's a more valuable position. The dude
Chandler Jones is a monster.
He's been on a tear. He's so good, man.
And he's so underrated. I don't get it. People don't talk about him as a top. He's
on a bad team. That's why he's on a bad team.
But you know him and Mack
in a small market.
Yeah, so I think the guys who are definitely taking over him would be Jones, Mack, Donald, and then you could probably argue for like this year maybe Wagner. You know, so he's top 5. You know, at the lowest, but you can argue him over Wagner at this point too. So, yeah, he's elite, man. It is what it is. I want him to be a Jet because he is elite, and I feel that he's a generational type Hall of Fame type player. And I don't know if you agree with me, but I've said it in the past. I think that the Jets have, since I've been watching football, have only had 3 of those players. One of them being Curtis Martin, one of those being Darrelle Revis, and now the third being Adams. Other than that, I don't think there's a player up to that tier with him since I've been a Jets fan.
And the sad thing is that both those guys played on the Patriots too.
Yeah.
Our arch nemesis. So and one of them brought a Super Bowl to the other team, and the other started and arguably had some of his most productive years.
Yeah, and people will argue for Mangold. Team. Mangold was really good, but I don't think Mangold was ever the best center in the league. Like I thought he was super consistent. I think Mangold was awesome. But like him and Brick, I thought were solid. But I think that's Jets fans bias a little bit. But
you or I both didn't watch film as closely back in those days. But I have to be honest, from what I remember, it was pretty consensus from a lot of people that in Mangold's like
more of Mangold than Brick.
Third, fourth, fifth years, many people said he was the best center in the league.
Yeah.
He was drafted in 2006. You're talking about the years the Jets went to the AFC title games, 2009, 2010, right at the peak of his career.
That would be interesting. I think
most people would say like he was the best center. Who would be better? Who do you consider better during those days?
Centers from 2010. That's what we're talking about.
I'm saying
you
don't know, but I'm just saying
the
consensus around the league is a lot of people would say he was number 1.
Yeah, I would honestly. I would like to find film on Mangold of like 2 games and watch how good he really was. But that's the biggest argument I get was Mangold. But just for me personally, that's the 3 guys who stick out the most. And Mangold was, like you said, we weren't watching film as closely. We're much more of hot take fans at those points. So it was just, they didn't stick out as much as it would now to me if I watched Mangold play in his prime, So even if you want to argue Mangold and say it's 4, you don't want to lose this player. You really don't. Like it's a huge hole to the defense. And listen, I think if you keep this defense together, and then let's say next year, let's say whoever they bring in even just 2 decent corners, like a draft pick in the 2nd or 3rd round and a number 1 guy in free agency. This can be an elite defense. Like they have the structure of an elite defense. They have an elite defensive line in terms of, well, you still need the outside linebacker, but you have an elite run stuffing defensive line. You have 2 really good linebackers. I don't know what inside linebacker duo is better than what the Jets have right now. If they're both healthy, considering health. Their safety duo, if they stay together, is top 5-ish at least, just because of Adams and May, who we said is solid. I think corner needs work and outside linebacker needs work, but you can do that in an offseason. So I think they have the potential to be a top 5 defense.
Would you trade anything for Ngakoue? And if you would, I mean, considering you'd have to pay him too, a big contract. Obviously, he wants big money. So would you trade for him? Obviously, I'm not saying trade Adams. I'm not saying
would I? It all depends on the.
And you might have to pay him $20 million.
I don't think he's a $20 million a year player. I don't think he's up to that.
And I think that's part of the reason why he hasn't been traded. Maybe
exactly. He's not Mack. He's not Chandler Jones. He's not Von Miller. He's really solid, but he's not even Cameron Jordan. Like Cameron Jordan, I'm taking.
Cam Jordan's good, man.
He's a savage. So like, there's really guys who are better. So I think he's a solid player, but a guy you're going to trade draft capital and then have to pay, and then you're looking on your team and you're having 2 guys, and let's say Adams is signed, him and Adams right away. Now you're taking up like $17 and $20 million each. Like, I would trade for him, maybe a 2nd, 3rd round pick, but that's only if Adams gets shipped off. Like if Adams gets shipped off, let's just say it's Gallup in a 1st. Now you have a little bit of extra room to move around in the draft. Now you want to trade a second for Ngakoue. I would do that.
Is Gallup that good? I haven't really watched much of him.
I watched a little bit of him during the Cowboys game last year. I was impressed, but I wasn't like people think he's a legit number one. I think he's a solid number two.
I didn't think he was,
which is a decent amount. Like if you had, but if at this point in the offense, if you had Gallup, Perriman, Mims, Crowder, that's a solid number four. You know,
adding him to this roster would be huge. But I don't understand why some people are acting like that would be a huge.
Well, he's still young too, so he could develop.
Trading chip.
This is only his third year too. So
okay.
So so we'll see what happens with Adams. But like you said, we both have number one. You know, I think that we're both annoyed by him, and I think
I had him at 2 last year. You had him at 1.
I think he's a little bit of a child. And he needs to stop liking tweets and deleting things. And like there was tweets he liked, it kind of like. Not insinuating, I think is the proper word, that Jets fans are racist. Like there was a tweet that he said that something about Jets fans being racist. Then he liked something the other day about, oh, well, Jets fans, you know,
what was the tweet?
I can find it 100%. I'll
okay.
send it to you after the show.
Okay. Well, and then what was the other one?
And then there's another one the other day that was like, oh, well, maybe Jawoll Adams would be willing to stick to for the Jets for a year if they weren't so bad and so far away from competing or whatever. And he liked it. Like,
I saw that one.
Like, so he knows people are watching that. He knows people are watching his every word. And listen, even if you don't like the Jets, just have a little bit more respect for the fans, you know, who supported you. That's my problem, is how you're treating the fans right now. Like seeing a player that fans love because, you know, regardless of what you think about his attitude, he's the best player on the team. And to see him in Dallas, which might have been staged, oh, Jawoll Adams, you trying to come to the Cowboys? Yeah, bro, I'm trying. Like that's not cool to see as a fan, you know? Tell the Jets behind the scenes you want to get traded and you're never going to sign a contract with them, you know?
Yeah. I really would like to see that one tweet and kind of like share any thoughts on it. Now, I was totally unaware of that. But
the racist one?
If that happened to be true, I mean, just imagine like trying to cast a wide net and make that big of a generality to say a whole fan base, or even, of course, there are racists everywhere in every fan base.
Yeah, I'm going to have to find it.
I would think, and I would even think, just based on demographics and stuff, that Jets fans would probably be less racist overall than some other fan bases.
Yeah, right? Like we're just in the melting pot of the world.
Just use your brain there.
And the thing about the Cowboys, too, that I see is they've won 2 playoff games this century. You know, Jets have won 4. Like, why the Cowboys? If anything, the Cowboys, since we've been watching football, like the last however many years, they've been super underachieving team for the talent they've had. They've always had a lot of talent. Have always been like 8-8 first round knocks out of the playoffs.
Yeah, well, bad coaching and control freak of an owner who is also a GM, and there is no other owner who's also a GM. And I'm sorry, Jerry Jones might have a lot of smart people around him who he pays a lot of money to, but he calls the final shots at the end of the day. And I'm sorry, Jerry Jones doesn't know as much about football as Joe Douglas. Not even close.
No way.
Not even close. And you best believe that, you know, when it comes to trading a first-round draft pick for Amari Cooper, who I love, but to trade a first-round pick for a guy and then have to pay him $20-something million the next year, I don't know if that's the smartest move to do for a wide receiver. He also made a trade for Roy Williams, traded like 2 first-round picks for. I mean, like, at the end of the day, even though some people in the Cowboys organization might like this player, Jerry Jones is the one who's signing off on a huge, drastic move like that. You have to wonder with Jawoll Adams, like, why you want to go to the Cowboys versus the Jets.
Okay, so I think this is the tweet. I found it. I was trying to find it.
You could share it on the screen.
No, it's on my phone.
Okay.
So it says it's from Jeff Smith, Jeff Smith Bills, give him credit, whatever. It says, witnessing all the vitriol the Jets fan base has thrown at Jawoll Adams when he's been nothing but wronged by the franchise. It's disgusting. He's your best player of the millennium, and that's how they treat him. They didn't deserve him anyways. Such a vile racism from the Jets fan base. I think that was it, which actually doesn't really say they were racist. Kind of just racism towards him, which is not the proper usage of words.
And how is it racist to not give into a player's contract demands when he by far and large wants to be the highest paid safety? Every fan base goes back and forth. Maybe they made a promise to him, or someone in the organization made some promise to him and they didn't keep that, but that doesn't mean that it's racist.
My thing is, like, and if they could basically sign him right now and erase all the other players' minds, I'll be fine with it. My problem is with the whole thing is the precedent it sets about him being a squeaky wheel and getting what he wants. That's the biggest problem with this whole thing, is that you don't want players to start, okay, well, what about me after year 3? You know, and the Jets have consistently been looked at as that negotiating tactic. Okay, I'm going to talk to the Jets, you know, Anthony Barr, et cetera. Type
Mike Maccagnan was burned so many times for that and consistently overpaid for guys. Listen, I mean, there's kind of a reason why, you know, CJ Mosley would have chose the Ravens over us if we were even in the same ballpark as them, but we weren't in the same ballpark as them. We were $3-4 million annually higher than them. And obviously, obviously signing Mosley, he's a good player. There's no doubt about that. Is the contract worth it? Yeah, that's definitely debatable. But that's Mike Maccagnan in a nutshell. There is consistently overpaying for everybody, and then also getting burned by other guys too. So it does set a bad precedent when you want to negotiate with your in-house guys, no doubt.
I have no doubt about it that Mcgovern, Jenkins, Poole would have been signed to bigger contracts if under Maccagnan. I just don't think he had the nuts that Joe Douglas does.
I agree. Yeah, Joe Douglas, and even with Robbie, like the Jets wanted to re-sign him the whole time, but look how long he let him dangle out there for.
Well, that's the thing about Robbie too. Why didn't they re-sign him? And I bring up this point multiple times, so I don't really need to tell you, but what if they offered him 2 years, $22 million, and he didn't take it because he wanted to play with Matt Rule and he didn't like Adam Gase? Like, we don't know that stuff behind the scenes. So it bothers me people talking absolutes, like they know what happened behind the scenes, because you don't know, you know? So,
and just because one beat reporter who gets burned consistently, you know, might have said that that's true, it doesn't necessarily mean that it is either.
Yeah. So, all right. Good. You know, 3. We're about to be on 3 hours.
If you consider, we spoke for about a half hour beforehand about.
Did we?
Other stuff.
Okay, so 2.5 hour show. So, anything else you want to wrap up with?
No. Just thank you for the work that you do and stuff, and curious if you know. I don't know if I should say this, but whatever. I'm going to go ahead and say it because
I don't care. It's my show. You can do whatever the hell you want.
Yeah, you're like that, and I'm like that as well. I was really happy that my buddy Travis Wingfield got a job from Miami Dolphins. You know, I mean, listen, his first ever podcast appearance was on my show back in 2015? It was 2015 or 16. I think it was 2015. And, you know, obviously he did great work throughout the years and worked his butt off and stuff, but now he works and he's getting paid and he's doing this full time now, and it was just a hobby and stuff before. And I just think that sometimes the Jets organization needs to move with the times too. And it just got me thinking, like, I don't even know if you want to do the type of work that he's doing with the Dolphins for the Jets. Because in some way, and let me just be honest too, and I love Travis, and he's going to have a slightly different tone than he would if he wasn't working for the Dolphins. He's going to have to be a little bit more optimistic on the players. And I think even, you know, if you really pressed him on this, he'd say this too. This is no disrespect to him. It's just the nature of the job. All right. But if you would want to do that type of work for the Jets should hire you, because I'm serious. A person who's doing work in the media and actually doing like film work related stuff, there's no one out there who's doing it better than you. I'm just being honest.
Yeah.
I feel like the Jets organization would be smart to hire a young person who actually knows something about football. I'm not even trying to be disrespectful to Eric Allen, but the amount of stuff that you know about players and stuff versus Eric Allen is night and day. And even let's say you were to sit down with Adam Gase and do a film session like Eric Allen does, how much better questions are you going to ask than Eric Allen is going to ask? Yeah,
for sure.
Why? I mean, like, you could still keep Eric Allen on the payroll and also have another guy who's going to sit down with the coaches and ask them
just
some
like
questions and stuff.
The little stuff. Like, listen, and I know Brian Baldinger knows a lot about football, but his film reviews, all of them, and they get retweeted like none other. And they're like, oh, really hard hit here by Adams. It's like, that's what you want to know about a play? Like, oh, hard hit? Like, really, not really anything that's involved. I don't know.
It's not super detailed. Yeah.
I'll tell you off
to be
the
mass
air.
Consumed. Yeah.
I'll tell you off the air. But I did message somebody in the Jets organization and basically kind of like sent a bunch of my film work. And, you know, basically I said it as shooting my shot. And that person basically just said, oh yeah, I enjoy your stuff, whatever. But I think you'd be better suited to dumb it down a little bit. And I was like, Nah, not a chance. And I'll give him credit. I messaged Jonah Schwartz, whatever, SNY, and I sent him my stuff, and he's like, I actually love your stuff, and I actually watch your stuff. I was like, first, that's awesome.
He followed me, and he followed me, and I don't even tweet, and he followed me.
Jonah Schwartz.
And I guess he followed me because I was on a show with you. That's the only thing I could think of.
He told me, he's like, oh yeah, big fan. I watch all your stuff. I was like, that's awesome. He's like, don't dumb it down. He's like, I don't know who said that, but don't. But yeah, we'll see. You know, if they were to offer something like, hey, do a couple film breakdowns, like not maybe full time, but like kind of what Baldy does, but be a little bit more in depth because he does a 1 minute video. Yeah, Jawoll Adams. He's like you could talk about it in his voice. Oh, Jawoll Adams. He's a real dog in the run game. Look at him sticking his nose here to the center, and then it's like,
listen, Baldy's good for he's good for mass TV. People like that type of stuff. But but there is a big craving, I think, for people who want really detailed stuff, and some teams are ahead of the curve in that regard. And these teams, they have so much money and stuff. It really would behoove them to hire more. In the Eagles, let's take the Eagles, for example. They have a film guy who's a media guy, Fran Duffy. You know who I'm talking about?
Yeah.
He does good work. He works for the Eagles, and other teams are doing this. But it just seems like, to me, the Jets are a little bit behind the times.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, and I appreciate that, and we'll discuss a little bit off air. But so the show's coming up, like I said, Fant, Tessier, Van Roten, Peanut, whatever. We'll see what happens. But those guys, at least I'm getting out because I've already done their film reviews. I don't want to waste film. Other than that, I think we'll get Kyle back on if he would do so. I'm sure he would. Probably going to do a 50. I don't know if the rosters are 53 or 55 this year, but whatever it is, we're going to do that. Maybe a roster prediction show. And then I know I'm going to be doing a wrap-up show where it's going to be me, Michael Nania, and Robbie Sabo doing like an off-season wrap-up show. And I think, Kyle, this would be going for me and you too. I'm going to try to do, I don't know if it's through Zoom or maybe like YouTube Live or go live on YouTube where like people can call in, or they could, like, I know on YouTube, they can message on the bottom of the screen. So like people could be watching it while messaging us. We can read the chat. Yeah, so I think I'm going to try to do one of those. So maybe we'll have you back on for a 55-minute roster prediction and the call-in show. But other than that, any other words before I stop the recording?
No, other than Joe did not tell me to say what I just said. You can tell that he didn't tell me that by him being shocked that I brought that up. So just wanted to put that out there.
Yeah, don't pay Kyle Smith to do that.
He's not. I'm not his PR guy. I'm just being real.
Yeah.
All right.
Appreciate it, Kyle. I'll talk to everybody soon. Like I said, this year, my work schedule, like I tell Kyle, has been bonkers recently. I'll get it out within at least part one, probably going to be like 30, 40 plays. And then part two will be with Marcus Coleman. So I get you guys back for 2 shows. Cause I know you want to come back to see Marcus Coleman. That'll be soon. And then we'll keep carrying on with the film, but I appreciate everybody listening. And like I said, leave those reviews. You leave a review on the podcast app. Even if you watch on YouTube, you might get a free shirt. There's a website for the shirts. There's a couple of them, and a free year subscription. So there's like a $70, $80 value for you guys going on the podcast app, hitting 5 stars, saying, I like this show. And then that's it. That's all I need. It takes a lot of time, as you guys know. So I'd appreciate the reviews. It helps me get out to more people, etc. So thank you everybody for listening, and I will see you soon.